on the camera and go live, right? But I figured, hey, let's throw up the quadrant, which is, the technical difficulty, please stand by Indian head, that we had. And yeah, let's throw up the quadrant and some music and a little text message saying that we're going to do this because it's a pretty big deal. I'm going to have my computer have the web browser read that to us right now. Now that I've introduced myself, we'll give you some context as to why I would even do something this crazy. It's not that crazy. It's not that crazy at all. The fact is a lot of people get hurt every year, sometimes killed and die because of drugs and not knowing, like, or maybe not, maybe they knew, but maybe like for some reason a precaution couldn't be taken advantage of, or maybe like, there's only a few reasons to die from drugs, all right? It's either going to be like an overdose, an adverse reaction, somebody's going to shoot you over drugs because they're either stealing your drugs or maybe you shorted them, maybe you owe them money, or maybe they just want your drugs. Yeah, you're basically only going to have like a handful of reasons to die from drugs, okay? So if you can know those reasons and avoid them, like, do your best, then hey, you might actually survive and live long enough to go to like a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. Because if you have a near-death experience, you'll probably want to do that, right? You'll be like, wow, this is a really bad hobby I have. This bad habit, this bad hobby, I think I need to go to Narcotics Anonymous. That's what'll happen if you have enough near-death experiences. Or maybe only one, hey. But, yeah, if you know how to avoid the near-death experiences, maybe, just maybe, you won't be another statistic. Because that's sad to hear about. Especially when it's preventable. That's like about as sad as it gets, really. And nobody's gonna care because most people, they have to deal with like the fact that it's sad, right? And they're probably gonna say, oh, it was just a dirtbag drug addict. I don't care. I don't miss them. They chose to throw their life away. And it's like, meanwhile, you're a ghost or some crap. Let's just pretend hypothetically ghosts exist. Like this is Ebenezer Scrooge and I'm the ghost of Christmas drugs. Okay? Yeah, that's right. The ghost of Christmas drugs. Nice to meet you. All right, let's go have a look and see how they're talking at your funeral. Yeah, fucking drug addicts. They owed me money too. Yeah, they owed me money and they stole my TV set. Yeah, I'm glad they're dead. Whoa! Hey! Oh! Sorry, Ebenezer. I told you, I'm the ghost of Christmas drugs. Alright? And you should refrain from making those noises. People are gonna think that's me moaning and groaning like a ghost. Oh! But they're saying it again! Oh! They're glad I'm dead! That's not even me! That's... Oh, they're confused. Do you mean that a drug addict assumed your identity? And was writing bad checks under your name? Really, Ebenezer Scrooge? I can hardly believe that. That's pretty cool. Fuck you, Scrooge. Oh well. No, but seriously, that's pretty sad. If you were a pretty cool person and that's all people have to say about you when you die is, oh, that fucking drug addict. So yeah, if you're gonna die, it's best to not do it from drugs, right? That could have repercussions that go back all the way to your family members and shit. That's not cool. So what about it? Come on, Jay. You're really trying my patience here. We don't all have a shitload of free time like you do. Hey man, my time is would you prefer if I charge you money? I could like rush through this a lot quicker if I charge you money. Alright, JJ, forget I said anything. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, think of it like a public service announcement. And instead of coming from the government, it's just a musician. Yeah, it sounds like you'll be getting your money's worth, right? Probably. Let me empty out this cigarette ashtray thingermabob here. 1 second. Oh man, I'm so happy. What? Did you get your drugs, Jake? Shush, shush, shush. You know I gotta go to a doctor to do that. No, I'm so happy because I had myself a little bleach party. I literally, can you see that? Oh, I can't see that. It's pretty funny. Check it out. I had myself a bleach party. Party, hearty. What is that supposed to even mean, JJ? Well, oh, it's pretty. I mean, what do you think it means? I mean, if somebody said they were gonna have a bleach party, what would you think that means? I don't have a clue, dude. That's pretty weird. Is that supposed to be funny or something? What the fuck are you talking about? Oh my god. You kids. Alright, here, hold on. I almost got this tripod working. Son of a... And I'm not talking about my penis. Hold on a second. This fucking thing. You know, I really like this tripod. And no, not talking about my penis. I just said that. No, this tripod right here. I'm gonna stop saying that because now you're just totally not focused on the topic at hand. This fucking thing. That's it. I'm gonna try not to make you seasick, but I can't make any promises, alright? Yeah, I know, worst, most unprofessional stream ever, whatever. You know, I won an award for cable casting excellence back in 1996. Alright, I do know how to make videos. I like this live stream shit because it's convenient for me. I get to make the video and that's it. It's over and done with. And I figure, hey, you can fast forward through it later if you don't have time to watch it now. I try to keep it informative and entertaining most of the time here on the zottheavengerrules channel on twitch.tv and the jjstylesrocks channel on freaking YouTube. But hey, you know, I do what I can and I can what I do. That doesn't make any sense. All right, let's load up this website so you get some freaking context, okay? You mind? You don't mind? My computer will read it to you, so it's really pretty easy to do. Let me see. I'm going to talk for one moment about the last website that was up on the screen, okay? If you don't mind. Consider it like my sponsor, even though I'm more like its sponsor. Like, does that make sense? Okay, I think I got the window situated properly. I'm talking about this right here. I'm happy to say that, you know, somehow we managed to here on the Zot the Avenger Rules channel on Twitch, somehow we managed to acquire, I guess, 74 bucks. That's pretty cool. I like it. That makes me happy. I'm literally filled with a warm, fuzzy feeling known as, I'm a little bit proud of myself, and I'm a little bit proud of you guys, and I'm a little bit touched because those kids got it so rough. They really do. Being sick, no matter what form of sickness, it always really sucks. So, those kids are really, really sick, and any way you can help is pretty freaking awesome. The thing is, I gotta change this. I think we can, I think once I pick this new charity to put on the page, it's gonna be this will be gone. I think. I don't think you're allowed to have two. I mean, that would just be foolish because, if you got two, that's a whole lot of charity to try to fund. You know what I mean? That is really a lot of charity to attempt to fund. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to publicly show support for the Internet Archive because I think it's kind of important to do that these days. I think that even if I don't raise 1 penny, granted that would really suck, but hypothetically, if I don't raise 1 penny, hey, it's at least going to show up that I support the Internet Archive publicly and I'm not afraid to do it. So, but no, I'm not. Let's see, a goal amount. What's a good number? Let me think. Hey, Zot, you got 5? No, we've already done 5 to death. Okay. How's about 10? 1. That's a nice goal. We might actually do it. And also, if you read it backwards, it's 0001. It's 0001 if you read it backwards. So 10 is a good number. There you go. Oh, look at that. I'm going to have to stop it. Okay, then. So we'll be able to continue that later. Okay? But right now, we're just going to switch it over to the archive, and that's that. That's pretty cool. All right, now onward to this article I'm talking about. And let me see, I got my speakers. We can turn this up. Here, I'm going to shrink this window. I'll be around, but a lot smaller, obviously. So I'm not in the way while this is being read. Capiche? Capiche? That makes you sound like a gangster, JJ. Well, I am not a gangster, but I might talk a little bit about gangsters later as well, because that does kind of tie in with the topic of the evening. Yeah? Oh, okay. Cool. So, where was this article? I don't know. That's why I'm glad I posted it. It says... yeah, damn, did a bit of posting today. That's nice. Oh, here's the post. Okay. This is pretty important stuff. This is like, if you don't keep up with the times, you're not going to know anything. And I literally mean the New York Times in this scenario. But keeping up with the times? Yeah, if you don't do that, you'll be old-fashioned in no time. Does that mean I'll be giving hand jobs, JJ? No, that's not what that means. All right, let's listen to what my computer has to say. I think I have a talking plug-in. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Oh boy, advertisements. Wonderful. That's what oh, whatever. Okay. It's not gonna really do much. The advertisements, not gonna get in the way that much. It looks like we have plenty of article to take in. What are they gonna say about it? I feel like such a vulture right now because, like, I'm actually excited to read this. I'm like, thank God! God bless the tweaked out meth heads! I'm gonna get back on fentanyl, I just know it! And it's really important that I do. I'll be showing you some actual documents that I've never shared from my 20-year-old accident. Just so you got some better context. But we got to start with this. Because if you don't know what prompted me to do this, well then, nothing else is going to make sense. Or have any kind of context. Yeah, it's a good word. Context. I like it.
Crisis beyond opioids. Millions of U.S. drug users opioids also.
I'm sorry,
regularly
guys. I really don't like that voice. I really don't. I just don't.
Read aloud is a Chrome and Firefox.
Yeah,
Read
that's
aloud
the
is a
one that I
Chrome
don't
and
like.
Firefox extension that uses text.
I just don't like it, okay?
Read aloud is a Chrome
Oh,
and
yeah,
Firefox
that's the same
extension
one,
that
right.
uses text.
Read aloud is a Chrome and Firefox
I like
extension
that one.
uses text-to-speech
That sounds like a
technology to
real
convert
human.
web page text to audio.
I like it.
It works on a
Let's try this again, alright? Take 2 and action.
A monster, super meth.
The shift is making treatment far more difficult. Most people addicted to opioids also regularly use other drugs. A monster, super meth and other drugs push crisis beyond opioids. Millions of US drug users now are addicted to several substances, not just opioids like fentanyl and heroin. The shift is making treatment far more difficult. Most people addicted to opioids also regularly use other drugs, studies show, especially meth, which is common in this encampment outside Kalamazoo. Credit. Jan Hoffman, Hillary Swift. By Jan Hoffman. Photographs by Hillary Swift. Jan Hoffman, who covers addiction, reported from encampments and treatment clinics in western Michigan. Published November 13, 2023. Updated November 14, 2023, 6:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Dr. Nick Helmstetter crab walked down a steep, rain-slicked trail into a grove of maple and
Dude, why am I using a text-to-speech function if I can just listen to it? That's nice. I guess this really is important news that we're all supposed to hear if they actually go this far out of their way. All right, then.
Dr. Nick Helmstetter crab walked down a steep, rain-slicked trail into a grove of maple and cottonwood trees to his destination. A dozen tents in a clearing by the Kalamazoo River, surrounded by the detritus of lives perpetually on the move. Discarded red plastic cups, a wet sock flung over a bush, a carpet square, and scattered across the forest floor, orange vial caps and used syringes. Kalamazoo, a small city in western Michigan, is a way station along the drug trafficking corridor between Chicago and Detroit. In its parks, under railroad overpasses, and here in the woods, people ensnared by drugs scrambled to survive. I'm Jan Hoffman, a reporter on the Health and Science Desk for the New York Times. I write about addiction, the opioid litigation, and other aspects of behavioral health. I'm going to read you an article I reported about the explosion of other drugs into the supply of opioids, which has really changed the nature of the so-called opioid epidemic and blown it up into something that doctors are calling the addiction crisis. In recent years, I've been looking at people stricken by fentanyl, which is a much harsher form of opioids, and the incursion into that supply of xylazine, an animal tranquilizer. When I was reporting on xylazine in Philadelphia, I heard
this
over
is
and
the
over
exact
again
opposite thing
that
I
people
want to
who
hear.
use drugs had supplies that were muddied by
find out.
many different kinds of drugs, which complicated so many efforts to try and help them. One of the biggest floods of drugs into the opioid supply has been stimulants like methamphetamine and cocaine. Meth in particular poses all kinds of problems, not least because there is no federally approved medication to help people who are addicted to it. I wanted to find places that were not common in the conversation about drugs. I didn't want to go to a big American city. And so instead, I found that meth and opioids were rampant in western Michigan, in the small cities of Kalamazoo and Grand Rapids. To report the story, I followed 3 different programs. One was the Street Medicine Kalamazoo, a group of medical students, residents, and physicians who go into the woods of Kalamazoo under railroad passes by riverbanks and treat people who are unhoused. On the first morning in Kalamazoo, I followed the street medicine doctors. The weather was terrible. It was pouring. It was cold. I thought, well, they're just going to reschedule for another day because how can they go into the woods when it's pouring rain out? And I was so wrong. The doctors looked at me like I had three heads and basically said, well, where do people who live in the woods go on a rainy day? They can't cancel their day. And so we just pulled up our hoods and walked into the woods, sloshing through puddles, through mud, in search of patients. While reporting this article, I really came to understand deeply that this disaster that we refer to as the opioid epidemic is unfortunately so much greater than opioids. I saw methamphetamine making a roaring comeback and capsizing so many treatment plans that providers and patients are trying to stick to keep themselves in recovery from opioids. But the other thing that became so manifest and obvious to me, because I spoke with so many people who were ensnared by these drugs, is that no one was choosing this at this point. Not because they wanted to stay in this life, but driven there by horrendous childhoods, by violence, by sexual abuse, by mental illness, by despair, by poverty. People who were so stuck in a dark place that they needed all kinds of help just to climb out of it. So, here's the article I reported. Dr. Helmstetter, who makes weekly primary care rounds with a program called Street Medicine Kalamazoo, carried medications to reverse overdoses, blunt cravings, and ease withdrawal-induced nausea. But increasingly, the utility of these therapies, developed to address the decades-old opioid crisis, is diminishing. They work to counteract the most devastating effects of fentanyl and heroin, but most users now routinely test positive for other substances too, predominantly stimulants such as cocaine and methamphetamine, for which there are no approved medications. Rachel, 35, her hair dyed a silvery lavender, ran to greet Dr. Helmstetter. She takes the medicine buprenorphine, which acts to dull her body's yearning for opioids, but she was not ready to let go of meth. I prefer both, actually, she said. I like to be up and down at the same time. The United States is in a new and perilous period in its battle against illicit drugs. The scourge is not only opioids such as fentanyl, but a rapidly growing practice that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention labels polysubstance use. Over the last 3 years, studies of people addicted to opioids, a population estimated to be in the millions, have consistently shown that between 70 and 80% also take other illicit substances, a shift that is stymieing treatment efforts and confounding state, local, and federal policies. It's no longer an opioid epidemic, said Dr. Kara Poland, an associate professor at the Michigan State University College of Human Medicine. This is an addiction crisis. The non-opioid drugs include those relatively new to the street, like the animal tranquilizer xylazine, which can char the human flesh, anti-anxiety medications like Valium and Klonopin, and older recreational stimulants like cocaine and meth. Dealers sell these drugs, plus counterfeit Percocet and Xanax pills, often mixed with fentanyl. The incursion of meth has been particularly problematic. Not only is there no approved medical treatment for meth addiction, but meth can also undercut the effectiveness of opioid addiction therapies. Meth explodes the pleasure receptors, but also induces paranoia and hallucinations, works like a slow acid on teeth and heart valves, and can inflict long-lasting brain changes. The Biden administration has been pouring billions into opioid interventions and policing traffickers, but has otherwise lagged in keeping pace with the evolution of drug use. There has been comparatively little discussion about meth and cocaine, despite the fact that during the 12-month period ending in May 2023, over 34,000 deaths were attributed to methamphetamine and 28,000 to cocaine, according to provisional federal data. Just last month, the Food and Drug Administration issued draft guidelines for the development of therapies for stimulant use disorders, critically needed to address treatment gaps. In the street medicine van up the road from the tents, Dr. Sravani Alluri, the program's director and a family medicine physician, gave Rachel an injection of antipsychotic medicine and then sorted through lab results showing the chilling omnipresence of numerous substances. Patient number 1, positive for fentanyl, methamphetamine, and xylazine. Patient number 2, positive for amphetamine, methamphetamine, cocaine, THC, and gabapentin, a prescription painkiller whose misuse is on the rise. Patient number 3, positive for fentanyl, methamphetamine, THC, and xylazine. Treating someone for opiates is relatively easy, said Dr. Paul Trowbridge, the addiction medicine specialist at the Trinity Health Recovery Medicine Clinic in Grand Rapids, an hour north of Kalamazoo. That's largely because of buprenorphine and methadone, federally approved medications with years of evidence attesting to their effectiveness in subduing opioid cravings, and Narcan, an over-the-counter nasal spray that reverses opioid overdoses. But meth, he said, is a monster. His patients typically have either Medicaid or private health insurance and a roof over their heads, even if it's a shelter. Many have steady jobs: dental hygienists, construction workers, tech salespeople. Still, the challenges of helping them are daunting. Their use of multiple drugs is not always voluntary. Dealers can be sloppy, Dr. Trowbridge said, or intentionally salt one drug with another to bind customers to the new mix. It's really unpredictable what people are buying, which makes it so dangerous for them, he said. It's a killing field out there. Some opioid users seek the fireworks of meth and other stimulants to offset the warm, sleepy embrace of opioids. Some use meth to stay awake to ward off thieves and rapists. Medications like methadone can safely replace more destructive opioids and satiate the brain's opioid receptors. But subduing the urge for stimulants, which set off the release of stratospheric levels of the brain chemicals dopamine and serotonin, is more complex, involving many unknowns. And Narcan, which has saved at least hundreds of thousands who overdosed on opioids, has no effect on stimulants. Moreover, depending on whether the user routinely turns to cocaine, meth, or prescription amphetamine, side effects, responses, and behavior patterns vary greatly. The truth is, we really don't have a good answer at this point as to why it's so challenging to develop these treatments, said Marta Sokolaska, the Deputy Director for Substance Use and Behavioral Health at the FDA Center for Drug Evaluation and Research. Last year, according to preliminary federal data, stimulants were present in 42% of overdose deaths that involved opioids. Like opioids, which originally came from the poppy, meth started out as a plant-based product derived from the herb ephedra. Now, both drugs can be produced in bulk, synthetically and cheaply. They each pack a potentially lethal, addictive wallop far stronger than their precursors. In recent decades, opioids grew so dominant that meth and its stimulant cousins proliferated in the shadows. A decade or so ago, Mexican drug lords figured out how to mass produce a synthetic supermeth. It has provoked what some researchers are calling a second meth epidemic. Popular up and down the West Coast, supermeth from Mexican and American labs has been marching east and south and into parts of the Midwest, including Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo. Users inject, snort, or ingest meth, often seeking to prolong its euphoria with binges that can last for days. Meth can also trigger violence and psychosis that emergency doctors can mistake for schizophrenia. Its long-term effects include anhedonia and memory loss. To help patients cut back on meth, some doctors prescribe Adderall, a drug for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder that is also a stimulant. But that avenue is narrowing because of the drug's nationwide shortage. People addicted to multiple substances are far more resistant to going into treatment than single substance users, addiction medicine experts say. Dr. Trowbridge said some opioid patients can become stable enough to progress to monthly injectable buprenorphine. But if they are also using meth, that treatment plan often collapses. The paranoia and hallucinations caused by meth disorient them, he said. One patient threw himself in a river to escape non-existent people who were chasing him. Others insisted that dumpsters were talking to them, that color-coded cars were sending them messages. So they skip appointments, returning only when they start to hit withdrawal and realize their opioid injection is wearing off, he said. At the clinic that day, at least 4 patients were no-shows. We're just trying to not have them have a heroin habit, Dr. Trowbridge.
Testing. All right, this thing's on. I gotta bring my control software back up. Here we go. All right, let's chat. After 13 minutes, I think I'm about ready to slice my freaking... All right, I'm not ready to do anything like that, but I am basically all empty when it comes to hope. It's what happens when you post a tweet about a news article you haven't read yet, I guess. Yeah, of course, if you were looking at my tweet and you were thinking, oh, gee, JJ, I don't think you read the article. Well, at least that means you read it, so that means that you're the highbrow, high-level fan of Zot the Avenger Rules and jjstylesrocks. If you actually read that. I'm just barely getting around to listening to it, and I'm now hopeless. Let's talk about what she was just talking about, the addictions specialist article writer person. First of all, she mentioned gabapentin, and that's when I flashed this bottle at you. You probably can't read because it's all out of focus. Maybe back here where it is in focus. This is basically a gigantic bottle completely filled with gabapentin. It's years old. When did I get this? Back in 2013. Yeah. And can you guess why they wanted me to take it? Yeah, to control my pain. That's why I got the massive opioid addiction, and why I basically had everything under control with a fentanyl prescription, the patch. That's what all these boxes, like, fucking A, man. This is really bad news for me, because without my prescription, I'm never going to get my pain under control. I'm never going to have a controllable, predictable life or lifestyle. Yeah, here's one. This is for fentanyl. What is it? Boy, I miss that pharmacist, Frank. This guy was from England, and he knew about punk rock music. He grew up listening to the new, like, skinny tie bands, like wearing suits. Like ska bands kind of do sometimes, or like some of the new wave bands. This guy totally grew up in the punk rock England, 70s and 80s, and basically he could fill my prescriptions, and he didn't treat me like a fucking junkie. He understood that I had an injury because I talked to the guy. He was basically one of the coolest pharmacists I'd ever met, because, a lot of pharmacists are just dorks, that take one look at me and they're just like, oh, this is a drug addict. It's like, yeah, I'm a drug addict. That's the nature of this shit. You get addicted to it. It's kind of like cigarettes, tobacco products. You ever seen somebody try to quit cigarettes and they're all, oh God, I need a fucking cigarette, because their mind and their nervous system is going crazy. you know, because they're used to having this chemical in their system, and when they try to quit, it causes it to go. Your entire nervous system is basically like that. If you can imagine what a nervous system like resembles, you know, like on a microscopic kind of level. Let's say we're Ant-Man and we're hanging out inside somebody's nervous system. Let's say we're playing the video game Microcosm and we're just sort of inside the human nervous system. Yeah, just imagine all the nerves going. Yeah, that's what they're doing, because they're saying, give us some tobacco. Yeah. Now, if you could imagine that, there's only one other comparable thing, really. I mean, like, you know, Dr. Drew right now would probably tell you about psychological addiction versus physical addiction. You know, like he'd say, well, with nicotine products, it's a mixture of both, because there is a mental addiction that develops. The user becomes accustomed to the habit and tends to become orally fixated if they are a smoker or tobacco chewer. You know, or if they do snuff up the nose, well, then that's a little different, you know, or if they do nicotine patches on the arms and on the chest, that's different too. But the signs of the psychological addiction are, you know, they want to be orally stimulated by like anything from a lollipop to a straw with a soda pop on the other end, or like a free, you know, that's what they tell you about the psychological addiction. That's how it manifests. But the physical addiction is what you see manifest in the form of bad attitude. Boy, that person's got an attitude problem. They're totally no fun to be around. They are just totally grumpy. Yeah, they're quitting cigarettes and it's only the second day. Oh shit, they're gonna be like this for another day or two, huh? At least, right? So that's the physical addiction. And yeah, with the physical addiction to opiates, it's far worse. Because like with the tobacco, yeah, you get irritable. With the opioids, you get totally fucking sick, otherwise known as dope sick. And it resembles like a runny nose. It resembles cold and flu symptoms. You get the runny nose, you get the upset stomach, you get a warm, flushed feeling all over. Like sometimes your ears will get hot, you know, like various parts of the human head will get flushed and warm, you know, because for whatever reason, the body releases a large amount of blood to certain areas. Like if you're having an allergic reaction or some kind of histamine thing, that's why people have allergies. It's because of histamine reactions, and that's why antihistamines exist, because they make the histamine go away that's causing you to have a histamine reaction. Oh, God, this is just so horrible. This is the worst possible scenario for me, this article that we're listening to. Because, yeah, man, they're not going to be giving me a fentanyl prescription anytime soon. Even if I swear up and down, cross my heart, hope to die, that I'm not going to sell it, share it, or otherwise commit a federal crime. Yeah, basically being a drug user it's not good to get caught being a drug user, you know, because you could go to jail and all that shit, and then end up on probation, yeah. But if you're a drug dealer, the penalties are far stiffer. You know, you could go to prison for years if you're a drug dealer, as opposed to going to jail for a little while, maybe a few days, weeks, if you're a user. Granted, it depends on how many times you get busted. I've never been to jail because I'm not a real drug user. I'm a medication taker because I got really bad injuries that I don't deserve, and nobody can fix them because it's not simple. And more on that in a second. But yeah, the physical addiction that you get basically makes it impossible to quit without some kind of a system, you know, whether it's going to rehab and just sort of dealing with it there, where you have doctors that can help you deal with it, usually by giving you drugs and talking you down if you're totally freaking out. You probably got group therapy to talk to other people that will give you support in the form of encouragement and also sympathy or empathy relating to your struggle as well, because if they are rehabbing for the same substance, then yes, they will be able to sympathize and empathize, like firsthand experience, right? But you know, it's a really foolish thing to accidentally get addicted to. The opioids, like you know, the cigarettes are one thing because those are everywhere. Granted, not so much these days, but still, they're everywhere. At any store you go to, that's for sure, right? No, you can't exactly buy opioids at the store. The closest you could do would be to go to like a smoke shop and get some kratom, if you've ever heard of it. Kratom spelled with a K. And all that is like a flower. There's like a flower called kratom. I don't know what the Latin name is. It's probably Kratomus flowerus, something like that. Like, I give a fuck. That shit is so expensive. And if you're accustomed to something like fentanyl, yeah, it's not exactly gonna do much. You know, if you're sick and in withdrawal, the kratom might actually, you know, save your ass for a little while. Not very long, for a little while. Yeah, this one is a 100 microgram fentanyl box. Let me see. Yeah, this one will show you better. See that? No, you can't, huh? Here, let me turn on the light. This is like the worst possible news. If you guys think that I've acted like a crazy freak, like for the past 12 months, I would have to agree with you. I've acted like a total mood-swinging bastard because I've had to rely on what you would call instant release opioids, you know, because I can't get the time release. That's exactly what the fentanyl does, is it releases into the human bloodstream gradually over time, you know, like a ticking time bomb. Not exactly, but I guess if that's all you can relate it to, you know, it's more like a coffee drip. You know how you make a pot of coffee? And I literally mean a whole pot. I don't mean like the half a pot or the quarter of a pot that you normally make so you can have a cup. I mean, like if you percolate an entire pot of coffee, like 12 6-ounce cups, you know, it takes a little while because it comes out one drop at a time. Right, it goes through the filter, you know, it's the water gets heated up, it turns into steam, and it drips, one drop at a time. And that's a good way to think of the fentanyl, at least when it's in this form, the patch form, because it's like drip into your bloodstream, a little bit of the medication at a time, because it's an oil, and the oil is in the patch. It's, you know, basically just like a nicotine patch. It just gradually keeps you even. It keeps you steady. Doesn't really get you high because it doesn't go into you all at once. That's the thing about taking the medication that gets you high, as people call it, is that it goes into you all at once. And you know, the way the bloodstream works is that's like your highway for everything. If you eat food, you know, and you get nutrients out of the food, you know, it travels in your bloodstream. You know, if you drink alcohol, you know, and you get drunk off the alcohol, yeah, it travels to your brain and does neurotoxic damage, and it gets there through your bloodstream. It's like, you know, without blood in your bloodstream, you'd never get high, that's for sure. Of course, there's lots of other things, like other factors include your vital organs, like your pancreas, your liver, your kidneys, etc. But ultimately, it's all about your blood and your brain. That's really what happens when people get high. It's all about getting the drug into the blood and then getting it to the brain and getting you high. And, you know, I hate saying, you notice when I say high, I sound basically really frustrated and disappointed and basically fed up because I never took this shit to get high. It's a painkiller. It fucking kills my injured fucking body, man. And like, it's one of the only things I can rely on to do that. It's really, I've tried everything, man. I showed you the gabapentin bottle. You know, this one. This is a really simple little drug. And it relates back to what the article was talking about. This is what they called the gabapentin. It's just like a little capsule filled with powder, and it's like an anticonvulsant, which means it's basically an anti-epileptic. Because you see, epilepsy is a thing that happens to your nervous system as well. Perhaps you've heard of it, at least here on twitch.tv, because every time you load up a video game these days, there's a little screen at the beginning of the video game that says, warning, this title has flashing lights, and it can induce epilepsy in a certain percentage of the population. And when they say certain percentage of the population, they mean a relatively small percentage, but still it's a large enough percentage that they have to put the warning there because enough people could be affected by the game, causing them to have an epileptic seizure, which is basically something to be avoided. It's a really bad thing to have happen, for the most part. I was talking about this on a previous stream. There are different kinds of epileptic seizures. The worst being grand mal, like my father had. And the reason why it's the worst is because that's the one that everybody knows. It's the one where people look like they're spazzing out like a fish out of water, you know, and they have no control over themselves. They're just like that. And basically their nervous system is like, you know, I don't know how much you know about biochemistry and human bodies and all this crap. I'm a high school dropout. So I never got to take biology. I never got to take chemistry. I basically had to learn all this shit on my own, because when you get in a really bad accident and doctors start saying, if you want to have a normal life, you're going to have to get on some kind of a control medication, and it's going to be an opioid. Then you start reading books like this one, learning all the great things that you can look forward to, as well as, oh, this is a bill I need to pay. Yeah, that's great. Don't remind me. You know, back when I got my injury, there was a thing, there was no thing called regenerative medicine. That's a new thing. It's so new, in fact, that no insurance company will cover a regenerative medicine procedure. It's just that new. I don't think the FDA has approved it. The Food and Drug Administration. You know, that's the deal with like drugs, otherwise known as medication, and also varying procedures, which is another way of saying like surgeries, you know, that doctors can perform on you, you know, all that shit basically gets I mean, for the most part, yeah, the FDA approves a lot of like procedure type things, you know, like for example, when I started getting really, really bald, like I'm pretty much like Ben Franklin. The only reason you see a mohawk hairdo is because I'm magic. I've got mad magic skills from wearing this thing for like 15 years. But ultimately, I started to get really fucking bald because of my genetics. My old man was bald, and like I got this thing that's a laser baseball cap that has a bunch of freaking lasers, just like a laser pen, you know? Like one of these. This is a green laser. It's pretty badass. You can see it a lot better than like a red laser. Oh, this one still has a little bit of battery in it. Woo! Sorry, I'm not trying to give you a seizure. I don't think you're gonna have one. But if you do have one, I'm sorry. That wasn't my intention. Usually it has to be a flashing light. One flash isn't enough from what I understand. I digress. Yeah, that hat was approved by the FDA. And though my insurance did not cover it, unfortunately, it was like $1,500, and that was on sale. Like that was like a Cyber Monday special on a refurbished model. That was like I figured I'd get the really good one because whenever you buy consumer grade gear, it always sucks and it's not good enough. It's like if you don't buy professional grade gear normally, you're probably a know nothing. Because if you're satisfied with consumer gear, yeah, you basically don't know that professional grade exists. Because if you knew professional grade existed, you'd want that. Because it's always going to be way better. But I digress. This FDA approved laser baseball cap didn't fix all my problems. So it's a good thing I know how to work a can of hairspray and a hairdryer. Something like that. Whatever, man. That's the least of my problems right now. Seriously, I could give a fuck. I've got serious problems, man. Like, my gecko's sick, and I've been trying to figure out how to fix him, but when you're having, like, 15 mood swings a day, I think I talked about one of them with you, like, on the last stream. I'm like, when you wake up sick, dope sick, and you're having convulsions almost like a grand mal epileptic, but you have your wits about you, so it's obviously not a seizure. It's just, oh God, oh, what a terrible way to wake up. Oh, I gotta get an opioid in me really quick. And then you have to wait for it to kick in, and you just sort of sit there going, I wish this really needs to kick in already. And then even after it kicks in, you've been like suffering for like so long, for so many minutes now. Even when it kicks in, you're still kind of like stuck in that mode because it's like an earthquake, like if you ever see a natural disaster or go through an earthquake, that they have aftershocks, right? It's like a little mini earthquake after the big earthquake. And it's basically because, yeah, the big earthquake is done, but when the entire underground, when the plates of the earth have just gotten done shaking, there's going to be some residual after effects as they continue to settle back into place. You kind of think of it like that. It's like after the meds kick in, you're still fucked up because your body is still going crazy. And so, anyways, you try to stay busy because if you just sit there and focus on that, it really sucks. Just focus on how horrible you feel and how you're very impatient at the moment because you need the medication to kick in right now. And it's even worse. It's even worse when you're actually in pain. Like if you wake up with a backache and you're dope sick, it's like, oh, great. Now I gotta wait for the meds to kick in to fix both those problems. Those are really bad days. Usually there's no recovering. Like, I should probably just go back to sleep and sleep till tomorrow if I can. Because if I end up awake after waking up like that, I'm probably gonna be in a shitty mood all day. But, even if I can manage to, like, pull out of that and feel some semblance of normal, I have to continue to take a fucking pill like every hour on the hour because it's the instant release bullshit. That's what I was just saying about the fentanyl, is the patch is an oil and it's like a coffee pot that goes drip, 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 just a little teensy bit at a time, as opposed to the street drug users that like taking the fentanyl pills made down in Mexico and smoking them like off of a foil, like aluminum foil. That's what they'll do, That's like the way a lot of junkies do their heroin, their meth, their crack cocaine, their freaking even prescription medications like pills quite often get smoked off of foil if possible. Like you'll know that it's possible if it doesn't turn into like what? Just like a black sludge, a burnt up black sludge. Or maybe you can't even affect it. Maybe it's a strange kind of a chemical that like you try to heat it up and that doesn't do anything. It's like it's meant to be swallowed and that's it. You know? But these junkies will try to smoke anything off of foil if they can. And that's when they get really fucked up and really fucking high, is because it goes into your bloodstream immediately and there's no coffee drip to it whatsoever. It's not drip, drip, drip. It's more like gush, end of story. You know? And that's why these fucking junkies end up looking like, I don't know, completely overstimulated. You know what I mean? Like a person that's all like, you know, just like, or maybe they just look exhausted, like, oh God, my body is so run down because I've been taking these instant release drugs for so long, overwhelming my body and my system. I've been doing that for so long. I'm just totally exhausted or totally overstimulated. You know, it's because there's no moderation to it. There's no middle zone. It's like you're either like sober and craving the drug, or you're completely overloaded and shouldn't do another. Yeah, if you're totally fucking high, it's usually a bad idea to do more of the shit. But you know, I've seen all sorts of behavior in my freaking lifetime. You know, I'm like a human that lives close to the border of Mexico, and on top of that, I've been a rather social human playing music in bands and stuff. And you know, I remember this one time I had a drummer that was younger than me. His father worked at Raytheon. Had a nice you know, Raytheon? Where have we heard that name before, I wonder? Yeah, his father had a nice cushy job as a bomb engineer, making like what, ICBMs? I don't think anybody makes those anymore. That's kind of like a treaty, an agreement between the nations of the world that they're not going to be nuclear anymore, because that'll be the end of the human race if that shit keeps going on. So nuclear disarmament, that's what the ICBMs are. They're nuclear. No, I'm talking like Scud missiles. I think Raytheon makes the Scuds, which were really big in Desert Storm. Everybody was using the Scud missiles. Also, I think they've been known to make drones. You know, like military remote control drones that you fly from like a command center on the surface of the earth on ground level. And then you get these drones that fly over other nations and bomb the fuck out of them. You know, because, hey, man, if you can do it remotely, why wouldn't you? Hell, man, that's the reason why I'm a computer hacker. It's because, hey, if I can do it remotely, why the fuck wouldn't I, right? It's like being an armchair bomber, except it's not really like that at all. It's like you really are a bomber. There's no armchair involved. You know, you ever heard that term? Oh, they're an armchair athlete. You know, because they like to watch sports and they like to act like they're the coach of the team. They'll say, oh, that was the wrong play. They totally should have gone for the Hail Mary pass. That always works. And then they'd have a touchdown. Yeah, right. Okay, armchair coach. Yeah, there's no armchair about it when you got a remote-controlled drone. You might as well be in the cockpit yourself. So yeah, this guy's father works at Raytheon, makes a lot of money. You know what this asshole does? He fucking lies to me. My own drummer, my buddy, my bro, he's a kid that's a little younger than me. Still old enough to buy beer, though. Yeah, this fucker, John Thomas, fucking dirty little junkie. He owes me a fucking double kick bass drum pedal. You fuck. And if I ever see you in public, I'll fuck you up. Because I'm crazy. Because I don't have fentanyl anymore. And I'm losing my mind. Because I've been through too much bullshit because of people like you and because of the fucking drug enforcement agency breathing down the neck of my doctors and all the unsympathetic people that run and hide from me like being a junkie is some kind of communicable disease. Because who wants to be around a grumpy junkie anyways? So I'll fuck you up, man, if I see you again. He fucking lies to me, says that he left court papers in the band space. And I say, oh, bro, well, what can we do? I'll give him to you the next time we practice. And he says, you don't understand, JJ. I got court today. If I don't have those papers, I'm going to jail. And I'm like, oh shit, dude, I can't help you. I have college class to go to. I'm taking a business class because I'm trying to make something out of my life. I've been making music my whole fucking life. I've been making web pages and computer programs my whole fucking life. And I figure, oh, I better take a business class because I'm an entrepreneur. I gotta use my skills to make myself money, and no one's ever gonna buy a goddamn thing if I don't become a businessman. So I can't help you, bro. Guess you're going to jail. He's like, JJ, I can't go to jail, man. You gotta help me. Isn't there anything you can do? And so I says to him, I says, well, fuck, man. The only I gotta be to class in a half an hour. The only possible way, and he's like, yeah, I gotta be to court in an hour and a half. I said, the only possible choice that we have is I can ask my mom if she would be an angel and go and open up the band room for you to get your fucking documents, right? And he says, oh, please ask her. Please, just, if she can, you'll be saving me so much trouble, man. I'm just like, fine. I've known you for a month or two. You seem like an okay guy. I don't want you to go to jail. That'll fuck up band practice. So I say, hold on a sec. Because I wasn't on a cell phone. I was on a landline, you know. He caught me as I was heading out the door. So I say, hey, Mom, if I give you the key to my band room, will you let my drummer in? He says he has some court papers in the band room, and he needs to get them or he's going to jail. She says, oh, that's pretty serious. I don't have any gas in the car. I'm like, here's $10. Is that enough? Oh, that'll put enough in the tank. All right, Ma. I'll get it back from him later, trust me. But yeah, if you could just do that, you know, you'll basically be keeping the band together, right? So my mother actually goes down there, and I'm at class learning how to be a successful fucking businessman. Man, fuck capitalism. Fuck democracy, and fuck the medical system. Fuck the fucking everything. He shows up, and she's already waiting there. And he's like, oh, JJ's mom? She's like, oh, you must be John Thomas. Are you ready? Let's open the door. Oh, I hear your father works at Raytheon. That must be a really exciting job, making bombs to blow people away. Does he know if they're innocent or if they're terrorists or anything when the bombs go off? Oh, not really. How do you determine such a thing? No, you pretty much just bomb the fuck out of the place and clean it up after, right? Yeah, bomb everything that moves, motherfucker. Anyways, she opens the door. He goes in and pretends to look around. You know, he's like looking in the corner, shuffling things around, and she's scratching her head thinking that looks awfully suspicious because he's not really doing anything. And then, like, she's just waiting, though, and then he goes, oh, you know, I can't find them. Oh, man. And then he goes over to the bass drum, and he unhooks the double bass pedal that she got me. I found it at Bookman's Used Books and More, the place that used to sponsor video games and more. I got way too much post-traumatic stress to not have a fentanyl prescription. I have to have not only pain control, I gotta have a fucking mood stabilizer. I got way too much PTSD to deal with this shit, man. So he fucking unhooks the bass pedal. I will fuck you up if I see you in the street, you little bitch. Little lying motherfucker. I'll fucking ice you. And your fucking bomb-making daddy. I'll fucking ice both of you. I know what his fat ass looks like. He came to the gate that one morning, banging the fuck out of it at the band hut, saying, "Hey, John, it's your father. Come talk to me. Where are you? I haven't seen you in a week." Yeah, 'cause your little junkie ass was living in the band room. Not my band room. This was before I knew you. And I said to his old man, I say, "Hey, you looking for that one drummer kid? I think he might be back in, it's a locking gate." I'm like, "Let me go ask him what's up." So I knock on the door. "Hey, here, come in, it's open." I go in, I go, "Hey, you don't really know me, I'm JJ, but I think your father's out at the gate. He's asking if you could come talk to him." I said to him, "I don't know if you're here. What's up? What should I tell him?" And he says, "Oh, tell him I'm not here." I'm like, "That's what you want me to tell him?" "Yeah, man, tell him to go away. Tell him he's disturbing the whole place and that I'm not here." I'm like, "Hey, it's none of my business. I think I will tell him to go away because he is disturbing the whole place. I was trying to record a song and all you can hear is bang, 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 drum in the background." All right. So that's the kind of relationship they have. I don't give a fuck. I consider them the same person. And I hate you both. Fucking little junkie bitch. Fucking bomb-making old man. Here's a good question. Here's a good fucking question. Why do you gotta steal my double bass pedal that my mom got me with trade? Because she sold a lot of books. It took time and effort. But ultimately it was a good deal. They ended up with stuff to sell. Bookmans, they had stuff to sell and put on their shelf. And in return, she got me the fucking double bass pedal. But this little asshole unhooks it, tucks it under his arm like a skateboard or something, and tries to walk out the fucking door, right? He's just like, doo-doo-doo. And my mom's like, "Hey, what do you think you're doing with that bass drum or pedal? I got that for JJ at Bookman's." And he's all like, "Oh, no, this is mine. You're thinking of a different one." And she's like, "That looks an awful lot like the one that we paid like $75 in Bookman's trade for. That's like a $150 pedal new, circa 10 years ago prices." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, he does have a similar one. I think his other drummer has it over at the other practice space or something." And she's like, "No, can I take a look at that? I just want to make sure, because I know it if I see it." He fucking pushes her out of the way, storms past her, and just heads for the exit and leaves. He could have hurt her. I will fuck you up if I see you on the street, motherfucker, you little piece of shit junkie. I got no love for irresponsible drug addicts. No love. See that? That's a heart. That's a heart. And that's me slashing it in half. I got no love for you little fucking junkies. All right? We are not friends. We are not family. You are nothing. I am a responsible medication taker. You filthy little fucks make my life impossible. I'm losing my mind. And I'm in a whole lot of pain just because you little fuckers don't know how to do drugs right. I hate you. I'm gonna lose my mind. One of these days, you're gonna be reading the newspaper and it's gonna say either I killed someone or I committed suicide by jumping off a cliff. And it's gonna be because of these filthy little fucking junkies making my life impossible. Thanks, world. Thanks. I got post-traumatic stress. I shouldn't have gotten my hopes up. Every fucking time I get my hopes up, it was a bad idea. Nothing good ever happens for me. Nothing.
Rich said, but then they're off on a meth run. Sammy, 30, who is addicted to meth and heroin, is pregnant with her third child due in December. This is her second pregnancy with the Great Moms Clinic, a Grand Rapids program through Corewell Health that supports pregnant women who struggle with drug use. Citing privacy concerns and not sharing her full name, Sammy, who has long dark hair and a life-hardened jawline, had been fastidious about keeping her appointments. She is trying to get it right this time. 3 years ago, the clinic prescribed buprenorphine to help Sammy contain heroin urges during her second pregnancy. But options for meth, especially for a pregnant patient, are almost nil. Dr. Kara Poland, the clinic's addiction medicine specialist, could rely only on gentle
Dude, I can't listen to this shit. All right. Let me go back to talking to you about epilepsy. Give me 1 second to fix the window. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind, I swear to God. It'll be like the original streamer lost his mind today and went postal. Like he said he was going to. If he didn't get any help. There is no help for me. You know what help means? Help means fill my fucking fentanyl prescription. It's been over a year. Alright, where was I? Yeah, so epilepsy. She was talking about the way these junkies get hallucinations, right? I need a cigarette. See, you remember that little part, right? About how the one user thought that the dumpster was talking to them? That was one of the hallucinations I remember. Another one of the hallucinations was, wait, I can remember. Was it anything about shadow people? Anything about ninjas? Because that's a common one. I don't think that was what they said, no. Something about the dumpsters talking to them, and like... Yeah, I forget the other one. Look, hallucinations go along with epilepsy. It has been theorized by, like, neurologists, which is kind of like a neurosurgeon, except neurosurgeons practice medicine with a scalpel and sometimes other surgical tools, whereas a neurologist typically practices medicine with drugs and perhaps therapeutic treatments, such as devices or physical therapy techniques. That's what a neurologist does as opposed to a neurosurgeon. But those are basically the two people that know neurosystems, the human nervous system. Those are the two people that know it better than anyone. If you recall on the TV show House MD, all right, there's a doctor. I'm trying to remember his name. I haven't watched that show in a while. But it's I remember the actor's name. It's shit. All right, you got the girl, and House is always calling her 13, and she also starred in that movie Tron Returns, or isn't that what it was? No, it was called like Tron Generations, right? It was like the sequel after like 2 decades or something like that. They had a Tron sequel, and she was the chick with the black hair in that movie, and her boyfriend was the black dude, and he's a neuro specialist. He's a neuro doctor, and he also ends up being like House's boss for like a season. You know who I'm talking about? Okay, good. So I can't remember because I haven't watched the show in probably a couple years. But anyways, those are the people that know the human nervous system. Neuro doctors, and epilepsy, it falls under the category of like a neuro disorder. Okay? Like for example, if you've ever like checked out the cyberpunk science fiction title, I say the cyberpunk science fiction, but it's basically kind of the one that started it all. Like if you've ever checked out Neuromancer by William Gibson, winner of a Philip K. Dick Science Fiction Award, a Nebula Award, etc., etc. Basically like the best book of what, 1984 or something like that? I forget, but yeah, the main protagonist of the story, spoiler alert, it's not really a spoiler. Everybody knows that Case, the neuromancer protagonist is suffering from a nervous system problem. Okay? Like, that's no big secret. Granted, if I tell you the reason why, that might be a spoiler. Are you ready? Cover your ears, okay? He basically has a nervous system condition because he was an underground computer hacker. He ran in cyberspace using his deck, his cyberspace deck, and it turns out that he crossed some people. Maybe he hacked the wrong system, or maybe he like owed money to somebody. I forget the exact circumstances of the deal gone awry, but Case ends up getting like kidnapped or something and like strapped, to a bed, and kind of like 50 Shades of Grey style. And they basically inject him with what they call a Russian mycotoxin. Why it had to be Russian, I don't know, man. Maybe the KGB specializes in that kind of thing. From what I understand, the KGB doesn't exist anymore. I think that the governor or the president, Mr. Putin, Vladimir Putin, from what I understand, he was in the KGB, so he could tell you all about it. He'd be all like, Russian microtoxin? I've never heard of such thing. Russian microtoxin. Yes, no, it sounds like science fiction to me. Right? Is that what he sounds like? Was that an okay impression? I don't know. Impersonation? Anyways, yeah, so Case gets to hallucinate for like a day or two or three, hooked up to a bed with like the harnesses and crap, as his body gets irreparable damage done to his nervous system, and yeah, he hallucinates. Because like I said, the epilepsy causes hallucinations. Uh-oh. Did I do that? Did you hear that click out of my speakers? Anyways, so dude is tripping balls because he's having really bad nervous system problems caused by the toxin, and it leaves him burnt out, unable to go back into cyberspace for the rest of his life. It's a scary thought, and I don't even have a neurojack. Like, some kind of a cerebral kind of like matrix kind of computer hookup thing. Like, I don't think anybody has that, but it still sounds horrible. It makes me cringe just to think of it, So, yeah, Case, at the age of 23, ironically enough, that's when I had my tragic vehicle accident that left me crippled. I was a burnout at 23. Oh no, I think Case was a burnout at 24. I think I beat him by a year. I think. It's been a minute since I've read Neuromancer or listened to an audiobook. But yeah, I think I was officially burnt out before Case was. IRL. And so what? So what? Look, man, it's just a commonly known thing that the hallucinations, it doesn't mean you're a dirty, stinking junkie. It doesn't mean that you're tripping on acid. It doesn't mean a goddamn thing, really, except that your brain might be experiencing epilepsy. Epileptic type, symptoms, otherwise known as temporal epileptiform discharges. I'm still thinking about that little bitch. I'll fucking ice that motherfucker. I swear, man. I used to have more mood control than that when I was on fentanyl and evened out. I don't take shit anymore. I got no patience. I'm a goddamn computer programmer. One of the most patient professions. Some of the most patient people you'll ever meet. I got no patience anymore. It's ridiculous. And yeah, so that's what that story was about. Was to talk to you about the epilepsy, because sometimes people they don't have sympathy or empathy for the people that are experiencing the crazy, wacky hallucinations. They think, oh, the dumpsters are talking to you. You must be a stupid fucking junkie, right? It's like it's far more serious than that. All right? People are not cartoon caricatures. People are people. All right? And if you're having trippy shit like that happen to you, and you didn't take any mushrooms, magic psilocybin mushrooms, if you didn't take any LSD 25 or whatever, and dumpsters are talking to you, yeah, it's because you're having epilepsy. Okay? Plain and simple. And yesterday I was posting tweets on Twitter talking about how I was being attacked by spirits. And you people probably think I was having epilepsy. But the fact of the matter is, I was munching on my Be Happy popcorn, trying to be happy. It tastes really good. It's like maple and bacon flavored. For whatever that's worth, like I really give a fuck about flavor these days. Damn, man, I like the flavor of a patch on my chest to even out my fucking pain and even out my fucking mood, even out my fucking biochemistry. And yeah, I probably do have epilepsy these days. Because taking the instant release medication, and I'm not gonna stop. I can't stop taking opioids because I have a real injury. If I stop and go through the detox, which almost killed me, by the way. I had to spend a week in the hospital because I vomited so hard. I got a Mallory Weiss tear in my esophagus because I have a fragile body. I'm a little dude. I'm like 5'8", and I have a small bone frame. Like I can wrap my fucking... That means you have a small bone frame if you can do that. I'm basically a little dude that... And when I get beat up, things like my orbital bone gets fractured. And when I vomit really hard and uncontrollably from being dope sick, I get big split, like a big fucking foot-long tear in my esophagus, and I bleed from it profusely. Man, I'm lucky I can still sing. And the fucking thing... I covered my entire bathroom with blood, just like a fountain. My father did the same thing when I was 12 years old. Or no, I think I was 10. Yeah, it was like 1990. I was like 10. Yeah, but his was from a bleeding stomach ulcer from the alcohol. He was on a 1-year alcohol bender because he was totally depressed. And, because he basically fucked up his marriage and his life and was probably never going to see me ever again because he'd been acting insane because he had epilepsy. Remember I told you about that? And his brain would get all fucked up. But, you know, all it really took was like some gabapentin. That leveled him out pretty good. Of course, when he was taking the gabapentin, he was taking a really high dose of morphine too. This was towards the end of his life, you know, like in his 60s. But it balanced him out to the point where he could actually have a beer or two or three and not act like a total psycho. That's how well the medication worked on the old guy. And he had post-traumatic stress like a motherfucker from seeing somebody's brains get blown out right in front of him when he was like 10 years old. Gave him nightmares the rest of his life. Post-traumatic stress, which makes you freak out and get real shaky and nervous and scared, like fight or flight. You know, what's a person to do if that happens to you 3 or 4 or 5 times a day? What if you had a post-traumatic stress freak out a few times a day? What kind of life do you think you'd live then, huh? I can tell you, not a very good one. The quality of life kind of sucks. Anyways, yeah, I'm not gonna kick the shit. I don't want another gigantic Mallory Weiss tear. Named after the 2 doctors that discovered the injury. And the fact that it could happen to a human being rather trivially. You know, it's basically like a gigantic gaping wound in your esophagus that can manifest very easily All you gotta do is vomit hard enough, like I discovered that the hard way. There's other ways to get one of those, but I guess that's the most common way. So yeah, and in case you don't know, vomiting happens, otherwise known as retching your guts out, when you quit opioids and detox completely. And it's a really painful thing to go through when you know damn well you're not going to be able to quit because your back pain is completely off the scales when it comes to pain. You know, that's how they judge you. Like, every time that you have to see a doctor about pain, right? They give you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is your pain today? Have you ever tried to think like that? And be 100% accurate? 100% honest? Like, I don't know if you know this, but a person that's suffering from post-traumatic stress and survivor guilt and a chronic pain syndrome, to have to think about their pain with that much detail, think about it that hard, focus on their pain and how they got it and shit like that, that's enough to cause a post-traumatic stress freak out. Just letting you know. So if you ever have to do that, I'd say just say 10. Every goddamn appointment you go into. If you know you need medication because your pain is uncontrollable, just say 10. Don't even think twice, because I don't want you to have a post-traumatic stress freak out. They really suck, I know. I empathize. I don't just sympathize, I feel your pain, I empathize. That's like a sympathy squared. The empathy. At any rate. Yeah, no fun, man. I could die from a Mallory Weiss tear. I bled so profusely. They kept me hooked up to an IV, you know, a drippy water bag full of like sugar water, otherwise known as like it has the word gly, or the prefix, because gly is like glycerin, or glucose, like it's another way of saying sugar. It's kind of like sodium is another way of saying salt. I told you I'm a dropout, okay? So all this stuff I had to learn on my own. They didn't teach me about sodium and glycerol in fucking school. No, that wasn't part of my computer programmer degree. Not a prerequisite. At any rate, yeah, man, they had me hooked up to the IV for 1 whole week, and it also had iron mixed in. Because when you lose a lot of blood, you lose a lot of iron. So, lucky I didn't die. I mean, I guess, granted, what kind of life do I have? Maybe I would have been lucky to die. I can't drink this ZTA cocktail fast enough here on the Zot the Avenger Rules channel on twitch.tv and the jjstylesrocks channel on youtube.com. Damn, JJ, you're really fucked up. How did you get so messed up, bro? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Because, hey, man, I'm in the middle of a PTSD freak out, basically. I might as well go over these documents that I've never shared with anyone before because they're so gruesome and grisly. Hey, man, might as well do it now because, what do I got to lose? I'm already freaking out because the news is so bad. I'm totally hopeless. I see no end in sight to this godforsaken so-called opioid epidemic, which means I'll never get another fentanyl patch ever. And you know, I actually had one other thing before I do a deep dive into my tragic, deadly accident. You know, there's only one other pain patch that they make. It's this one, the Butrans patch. This was like the new experimental patch that they wanted me to try. They said, look, we don't want to give you fentanyl because that shit's really addictive. And, you know, once we start you on that, there's pretty much no turning back. It's like a one-way street. Okay, bro? So here's the deal. I know my doctor didn't quite talk like that, but You know, I had one that almost did. He's dead now, unfortunately. I've had 2 pain doctors die in their 50s recently. And I don't know what the circumstances were. It's really weird. Just 2 more people that I mourn because they were both understanding of my plight. But they're dead now. I got no sympathizers, apparently. But yeah, this stuff, the Butrans, this shit made me allergic. Apparently, it has something to do with the synthetic plastic that is like, you know, patches are made of stuff. Like a nicotine patch is like made out of foil. At least, you know, most nicotine patches that I used had like a foil kind of like, it looks like white dude skin color on one side and then like shiny foil on the other. And then there's like a cloth cottony kind of thing, almost like a Band-Aid in the middle, but it's circular shaped. And like, you know, there's like small, medium, and large, depending on how addicted to tobacco and nicotine you are. You know, you got your quarter-sized one and your half-dollar-sized one and like one in the middle. Those are the nicotine patches. And by the way, I find those to be highly effective. Like, if you want to quit smoking, or vaping for that matter, if you have a serious nicotine addiction and you need to just stop with the oral fixation thing like Dr. Drew suggests, Dr. Drew Drew Pinsky from Loveline. Yeah, that's the guy that gave me advice when I was growing up. He was a little less insane than me. And I'm not insane, man. I've got issues that I can't get help with because it's practically illegal to help me, apparently. It's like you're aiding the epidemic if you aid me, a suffering patient. That's like the attitude these days. No empathy whatsoever. Not even sympathy. It's basically like, tough shit, JJ. Sorry you were in an accident 20 years ago. Maybe you should, like, get fixed. Okay, first of all, I'm not a cat. I'm not gonna get fixed. Second of all, I'm trying to get fixed. It's really expensive. I keep telling you about regenerative medicine. They take your plasma, they extract the stem cells, they re-inject them back into you, and you get better. A little bit better. It's really expensive. I don't even know how much profit QC Kinetics makes off of giving me the procedure. They have to charge like $8,000 for one treatment, but if you manage to come up with another $4,000, they give you a second treatment. They give you a double dose of stem cells. So it's basically like you get it half off, buy one, get another half off, that kind of a deal. I just love capitalism. It's just great, isn't it? I just love Cyber Monday. Buy one, get one for 1.5 price or half price. Yeah, I just love putting a price tag on my quality of life. That really makes me love money. To know that all of my suffering could be alleviated if I could just come up with the fucking money. Yeah, that makes me a really happy, functional consumer. You guys know I'm a brand whore. I'm always talking about Mountain Dew, Apple computers, Nintendo Wii's. I totally wear Converse tennis shoes all the fucking time, even though Nike bought them, kind of like the way Amazon bought Twitch. I'm a total little brand whore because I like good shit. I don't like generic things because generic things are usually not professional grade, and I like being a professional amateur. God damn it. I really like being that way. But when you put a price tag on my health, it makes me a whiny little bitch. I probably sound like some kind of a communist or a socialist, and the fact of the matter is, I dropped out of high school, and I don't really even understand what those things are. I'm just a jaded, jilted capitalist. Born capitalist, Gonna die capitalist, and I hate this shit. Because you put a price tag on my health, my quality of life. It's not fair. And it makes me an ugly person. Because I don't even get a choice. My feelings are so off the scale and out of control, I'm grinding my teeth right now. Talking through my teeth. It makes my jaw hurt. I'm getting a muscle cramp. I can't control it. Because I'm so fucking pissed. I've been through so much. Shit you hopefully never have to go through. But yeah, I was allergic to this shit. So they had to put me on the fentanyl. It's like the plastic that it's made out of. You know, some nicotine patches are made out of plastic. They're not all made out of foil. It's basically just a means to an end. It's a device. You know, sometimes cars are made out of like poly materials. Sometimes cars are made out of iron, stainless steel, shit like that. Yeah, I think the polyplastic and the fiberglass, they like that shit because it's sturdy, but it's biodegradable too. It's like a renewable resource in a way. I mean, you know, plastic isn't renewable because it comes from dinosaurs. Basically dead dinosaurs in the ground, the petroleum. I'm so sick of this shit. I feel like I'm talking to myself. And that's okay because I gotta get the anger out. And talking about it's the only way to do that. And trust me, you don't want me at your support group. I would be a disruptive element at your support group. Because I have no control when my post-traumatic stress takes over. And when I start crying, that's probably a little bit of my survivor guilt. Because I'm guilty to be alive. Because there's people that aren't. I feel privileged to be alive. And even though my life stinks, I'm still guilty about it. Because they're still dead. They don't get a choice. I get a choice. I could stay alive, or I could find a way to die. If it becomes too overwhelming, I could find a way to just end it and join everybody I've practically ever known. Every friendship that I've ever put time into, pretty much. You know, it does take time to put time into relationships. So, you know, if you put time into a relationship and it either falls apart because somebody steals a drum pedal from you and nearly hurts your mother, yeah, that's a pretty good way to destroy a relationship, a friendship, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Or sometimes you put time into a friendship and they just croak. Yeah, that's kind of a waste of time too. Gets old. Gets really old. Just like me, I'm really old. I'm like early middle aged. You'd think I would have found after 20 years, after 2 decades, you'd think I would have found some kind of stability somehow, right? Not really. It isn't like anyone ever becomes an expert at this shit. You know, maintaining your human body after a really bad, tragic, fatal injury. Yeah, no, it was fatal because it killed the others. I lived. I'm the survivor. That reminds me. I was gonna play this fucking song. I could use it for strength right now if I'm actually gonna talk to you about these fucking documents. I was gonna share these documents I think a year and a half ago. like during the anniversary of like my band's rollover accident, which by the way is July 27th, in case you're curious. Yeah, July 27th, that is when the zodiac sign Leo is basically in effect. It goes from Cancer the crab to Leo the lion. I think that's right around July 23rd or 4th. That's like the cusp. And it was July 26th, right? But the accident happened at 1 in the morning, so it had technically been the 27th for about an hour. When everybody died, except me. And that sucked. Even though it happened 20 years ago, the injuries are still there. And it still hurts to think about. Because like I said, they're still dead. Actually, I'm going to play this. I uploaded this recently. Somewhere new. I'm going to play it from the place I recently uploaded it. That's what I'm going to do. A person like me, they gotta try new things because a lot of times there is no old thing that works. You gotta try new things. If that's the one thing you take away from this broadcast, it's that if you're ever suffering and you gotta do something, don't do something that you've been doing that's kept you suffering. Try something new. Because you gotta. You're not gonna find the cure by sticking to the same thing that's not working. You gotta try new things. You can't be set in your ways if you got really bad problems. You gotta try new things. Kind of like stem cell therapy, JJ? Exactly like that. Even if you can't afford it, there is a thing called credit. That's usually an option for most people. And although interest is often involved, sometimes you can get 0% interest. That's always nice. This song is called Survivor. It's by Pop Evil. They're a really good band. I gotta unmute the desktop microphone. Okay, it's unmuted. Now I get to mute my microphone. Can you hear that? Doesn't sound like it's playing. No, it's not. There, now you'll be able to hear it. I hope you enjoy this. I dedicate it to my dead band members, and I dedicate it to myself, because I'm fucking hardcore. Still, to this day, hardcore motherfucker. And I will ice you if I see you in the street, John Thomas. I swear to God, don't come to my neighborhood, you piece of shit junkie. Hopefully they just lock you up forever. Then I won't have to worry about getting in trouble for wasting you, you piece of shit.
Good enough to finally succeed. Then I couldn't love the reasons that I still bleed. It's getting harder to walk. I guess I'll just have to run and then swing off a cliff. I'm not like everyone. Come ride with me. Been through hell and
Sorry guys, false start. I had the noise suppression filter on. You know how that goes. I know better than to leave that on. I have my wits about me. I'm not totally mental. I'm just having a PTSD freak out. I'll get under control. I'll get it under control. It's not gonna fuck me up. I'm still functional. as functional as I ever was, I guess.
If I wasn't good enough to finally succeed, then I couldn't love the reasons that I still bleed. It's getting harder to walk. I guess I'll just have to run, heading straight off a cliff. I'm not like everyone. I'm a survivor. Come ride with me. Been through hell and back. Don't need your sympathy. Everything I wanted is right in front of me. Yeah, I'm a survivor. Come ride with me. Come ride with me. Yeah. Come ride with me. Keep my head up, sinking, lost in all of these waves. These odds keep me going, the tide is finally changed. When it gets harder to breathe, I guess I'll just have to scream. Up on my feet, I want the world to see me. I'm a survivor, come ride with me. Been through hell and back, don't need your sympathy. Everything I wanted is right in front of me. Yeah, I'm a survivor, come ride with me. Come ride with me. Yeah. Come ride with me. Ride with me, yeah. To ride solo. Come ride with me. Just. I'm a survivor, come ride with me. Been through hell and back, don't need your sympathy. Everything I wanted is right in front of me. Yeah, I'm a survivor, come ride with me. Come ride with me. Yeah. Come ride with me. Come ride with me. Yeah. Come
Ride with me, yeah. Hey, I wasn't the one driving, so you can come ride with me. It's not like I fucking caused it. It's true, man. Let's go over these documents. I'll prove it. Fucking prove. Because I understand perhaps you don't have sympathy or nor empathy for my situation. That's understandable. You probably think I was the one driving, huh? I uploaded this one too. Let's check it out. All right. I'm a sucker. I got a weakness for music.
bang my head against the wall.
It's hard to find my stride, but I'm sick of it all. Oh, I trip and I fall. That's right.
Attention again. Yeah, I hit the bottom, but I'm on the mend. I get up, take another step, push it to the edge. I get up just a little more. I can see the end. I get up, yeah, you're finished. Yeah, your mind always bleeding.
no trust. It's in my head. So I'm shaking off the rust. I think I'm broke just a little bit. Walk through the fire, now I'm back again. Lord knows I've tried everything I can. Now I'm shaking off the rust. Now I'm shaking off the rust. Bang my head against the wall. Try to find my stride, but I'm sick of it all. Everyone has something to say. Better hold my tongue or I'll make a mistake. I get up, show 'em what I do, show 'em how it's done. I get up, never turn it down, never gonna run, I learn. You think too much, it's in my head. So I'm shaking off the rust and you got no trust. It's in my head. So I'm shaking off the rust. I think I'm broke just a little bit. Walk through the fire, made it back again. Lord knows I've tried everything I can. Now I'm shaking off the rust. Now I'm shaking off the rust. Woo! I'm shaking off the rust. You think too much, it's in my head. So I'm shaking off the rust. You got no trust, it's in my head. Now I'm shaking off the rust. I think I'm broke just a little bit. Walk through the fire, now I'm back again. Lord knows I've tried everything I can. I'm shaking off the rust. Yeah, I'm shaking off the rust. You know, in retrospect, in hindsight, I wish I would have played the drums. I played everything else, I sang, but I wanted it to be really tight and on the rails, so I didn't play drums, right? And now, in hindsight, in retrospect, I regret that. Yeah, we're gonna kill this, because we don't really need to listen to the original streamer. I think I did a pretty good job, though. Here, let's check out just a moment of it. If you're wondering, yeah, those weird characters that you see, those are Russian characters.
JJ Styles. The optical illusion.
I'm not entirely certain. I think I was under the impression that Russian was one of those, like, right-to-left languages, like Arabic. You know? Yeah, wah, wah, wah. Yeah, he's crying to show you he's trying to make you understand. Yeah.
The original streamer.
He's so fucking lame, and then he tells you that you're insane. I'm more likely to tell you that I'm insane, actually.
Or maybe not that. Maybe.
But yeah, I hope
You just don't know
that worked,
if you can
because
get
I'm
it.
trusting Google, and I got no trust.
Anything
It's
that
in my
was
head, right? In fact, I got no trust. I mean, I never had that much trust to begin with. But I suppose when you have to trust capitalists, and you know that the only thing they care about is dollars, it's pretty hard to trust them. They're practically an untrustable breed, the so-called capitalist. It's like they literally only care about money. It's like they don't care about talent, they don't care about achievement, they don't care about honesty, they don't care about integrity, they don't care about anything except the dollar. And if you don't believe that, you're naive. You know, I've had enough experience. I'm early middle-aged. here on the Zot the Avenger Rules and JJ Styles Rocks channel. And I can honestly tell you I've suffered for over 12 months, coming up on 13. And like, you know, I haven't even encountered a fentanyl dealer to help me. Like, that's how bad this epidemic is. It's like people are so addicted. There's not even any black market fentanyl to be had unless you're going to do like the instant relief stuff. The blue pills that come from Mexico or whatever. Yeah, I'm not looking to do that kind of fentanyl. I kind of want the time release. The patches. The stuff made by, what's the name of this capitalist corporation? Mylan? Yeah, the Mylan. The Mylan brand. That's what that says. Here, let's focus. Let's focus on what a successful business looks like. It's like Bright Idea Records. It's failing. It always has failed. It's not going out of business anytime soon. I'll keep it alive as long as I can. But if I was smart, I'd try to have a business like this one. This is a successful enterprise. The Mylan Corporation. This is one of the 50 microgram varieties. This is half the strength. I kind of knew that everything was going downhill when they took me off the 100 microgram. This happened a few years ago. I didn't do anything wrong. No, this was just a trend. When they took me off of the 100 microgram and took it down to 50, I kind of scratched my head and said, that's weird. Did I do something wrong? This is a weird occurrence. Oh, I get it. Opioid epidemic. Right. And then shortly after that, I couldn't get any anymore. Yeah, they halved my 50. They halved my 100, halved my 50. And then when I got on the... Here, let me find a 25 to show you. Let me show you what a 25 looks like. Like the 100 is yellow, okay? And the 50 is green. I gotta put this out. You know why I keep smoking and I haven't quit? It's because it's one of the only joys I have in life, if you can believe that. This stinky, smelly, disgusting habit, it evens me out and makes me feel okay. And I smoke the menthols. I like the way they taste. It's one of the few things I can depend on consistently that brings me a tiny little bit of satisfaction and relief in this fucked up world where money drives everything. Like, even the charities require money. Like a non-profit charity, you know, it's something like St. Jude's Children's Hospital, a hospital that treats cancer patients. Yeah, they need money. Yeah, and the Internet Archive, a place that provides the world with information that they wouldn't get anywhere else. Information that can change your life for the better most of the time. I find that rarely does information ever make your life worse. Information usually makes your life better. It saves lives. It, like, gives you a clue when you're stabbing in the dark. But I can't find any information to help me with my dilemma because my problem is basically a problem of law. It has to do with justice, and that is a little more complicated. First of all, I'm not a lawyer. That's one thing that complicates it. Although I did win a civil action one time against the federal government, but that was just because I had evidence. If you don't have evidence, you know, you're never going to win. Granted, I should sue. I really should. I probably have a fortune to be won because whenever a person has losses and they can find somebody accountable for their losses, it's usually worth a lot of money. You know, like if you get cancer, if you get lung cancer from smoking cigarettes, you can sue the manufacturer. Like that's a well-known fact that Philip Morris Tobacco Company, they got sued. you know, for people getting cancer, and they lost. They had to cough up money as their users were coughing up chunks of their lungs. Yeah, what else? Oh yeah, the opioid thing itself. Recently, businesses, successful businesses and drugstores that I've been going to since I was this tall, drugstores that I've been going to my whole life, like Walgreens, basically Walgreens. No, there were other drugstores like CVS and Walmart, but Walgreens is the one I've been going to my whole life because they've been there my whole life. They got sued, and what did they get sued for? Like $1 billion. What did they do wrong? They filled the prescriptions. They did their job. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I know, right? That's our justice system. It doesn't make any sense. It's completely crazy. Like, think about it. Who's really accountable? Like, if you're a patient and you end up addicted to opioids because you weren't well informed, is that the pharmacy's fault or is that your doctor's fault? You know? It's obviously your doctor's fault because all the pharmacy does is fill the fucking prescription. Yes, the pharmacist is there as a courtesy to inform you of what you're taking and anything that you really should know, just anything that your doctor might have neglected. Yeah, but they're really not the responsible party. Yet they got sued for $1 billion. That's a lot of money in case you didn't know that. $1 billion is a gargantuanly huge amount of money. Like, how long? You could work your entire life at a good job. Oh, my back is killing me. I gotta take another pill. This is ridiculous, but I should have seen it coming. You know, I was acting crazy. And that's the post-traumatic stress, but I'm extra susceptible to my post-traumatic stress when I'm needing a pill, you know. I used to get the fight or flight syndrome. Now I just, it's like a symptom. It's basically a reaction, the fight or the flight. It's a survival instinct that you get when you feel like your life is being threatened. I used to get the fight or flight. Now I just get the flight. Or no, now I just get the fight. Yeah, you knew what I was going to say. I got dyslexia, so sometimes I say the wrong thing, the exact opposite. It's pretty ridiculous. I can hear the word coming out of my mouth. I'm like, that's not right. Whatever. I guess I'm just a backwards person, huh? Yeah, well, yeah, that's our justice system. They sued the fucking pharmacies, and they won. The pharmacies had to cough up all that money. And if you've been to the pharmacy lately and you think it seems a little bit ghetto there, like if it seems like a rundown, worn out fucking slum of a freaking drugstore, and not only that, but there's only like 1/4 as many as there used to be in your town, well, that's why. It's opioids. This godforsaken epidemic that nobody can figure out, you know? Give me a fucking break, man. Like, why don't you just blame God? Like, if you're gonna blame the pharmacy, why don't you just blame God for the epidemic? Why don't we sue God? Because God's about as responsible as a pharmacy. Yeah, these are actually the 75s. They're purple, like Zot the Avenger. I guess in an ideal world, I'd be on the 75s, because then I'd match. That would be nice. Yeah, I was trying to find the 25s, because I went from 100. You know, when I started these godforsaken things, I told you the Butrans I was allergic to, right? The material that it's made out of. And by the way, I'm sharing this information with you by choice. I'm basically protesting like some kind of activist because this is ridiculous. And somebody has to tell you that it's ridiculous. Because if nobody tells you that it's ridiculous, you're never gonna know that it's ridiculous. Like the solutions that are being offered are ridiculous. Like, you trust the president, don't you? You trust your elected representatives, right? You trust them just like you trust your doctor and trust your pharmacy, right? Yeah, it's ridiculous. The solutions and the things that are being tried to stop this so-called epidemic are ridiculous. You know, I'm not a genius. I don't have, like, Stephen Hawking's IQ. Alright? But I'm somewhere in the middle. Like, the average IQ is 100 IQ points, and Stephen Hawking is, like, way up there. Fuck, man, he might be 200. Is he still alive? I hope so, man. That guy's had a rough life. I'll bet he takes opioids at this point, if he's still alive. I mean, that guy's fucked up, but he's still a genius. Yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle between, like, the average and like, a super genius. I'm just, like, right in the middle. I'm, like, sub-genius. No, I'm not a member of that religion. I'm saying that I'm slightly less than genius. I'm not subhuman. I am a human. I suffer, I bleed, I cry, just like the rest of you. I get angry. Yeah. I'm not subhuman, but I am subgenius, so that's kind of weird. And no, I don't mean the religion. I just said that, but I have to say it again, because, I mean, how can you not think of the Church of the Subgenius when I tell you I'm a subgenius? If I had to claim a religion, I would say to you, my friend, that I'm a J-squaredist. And you'd say, what the fuck? Isn't that a joke? Didn't you used to get trolled by phone callers, and didn't they call themselves J-squaredists? You can't be serious, JJ. You're not a J-squaredist. And that's when I say I just discovered myself. I just found my faith. And yeah, if you can believe that. And those crank callers, those trolls, those are actually prophets. I know, right? I'm just as surprised as you are. And yeah, that might be the epilepsy talking. I don't know, man. I haven't had an EEG lately. That's a shorthand for electroencephalogram. That's what they scan your brain with, those trodes that go on your temples. Yeah, they call it an EEG. It's short for electroencephalogram. And, because, you know, if you get encephalitis, that's like a brain disease, right? It's like a brain virus, you know? So yeah, enceph, that's like brain in Latin or something like that. I'm not stupid, but I'm not a genius. I'm kind of sub-genius, I suppose. Which, it really sucks. When I have problems like what I'm telling you about, I wish I was a genius, because I'll bet I could solve all my problems if I was like... Granted, Stephen Hawking couldn't even solve his problem, so maybe I couldn't. Maybe some illnesses are just unsolvable at this point. That's probably the truth. And that's when you take opioids, because that's the ultimate band-aid, right? I don't know if I'd say ultimate. There's a lot of fucking drawbacks. I think you've heard of all of them. This is like a marathon freaking public service announcement. We've been on the air for 2 hours and 45 minutes here on the Zot the Avenger Rules and the jjstylesrocks. And, you know, I can't end. This is like a marathon public service announcement saying, whatever you do, I don't care how much pain you're in. Like, if you have to get a surgical procedure tomorrow, you know, and you're like on a fast, because, you know, if you're going to get a medical operation, they make you fast the day before for at the very least 12 hours. Because they don't want you to have anything in your stomach. Because if you vomit, you're going to asphyxiate if you have anything in your stomach. So they have you fast. If you're fasting right now as you watch this, because you're getting a procedure tomorrow, I'm going to advise you to forego the aftercare narcotic pain medication known as opioids and just tough it out. And if it gets really bad, I recommend the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories because you won't get strung out on those. And getting strung out is basically like you might as well put a wedding ring around your freaking injury. Let's put it that way. I am so stubborn. I am still looking for a 25 microgram box just because I want to know what color it is. We know the colors. The 50 microgram, that is the green. The 75 is the purple, and the 100 is the yellow. I could probably find out faster on Google Images, but I gotta know. Because this fucking addiction is making me hate colors. That's not good. That's not good, Zot the Avenger. That could lead to racism. Oh, no. Not those kinds of colors, friend. No, I'm talking about colors in the rainbow spectrum. If you can believe that. Completely unrelated to, like, human flesh tone. No, it's a completely different kind of prejudice. And yeah, I'm starting to hate these colors. The purple, the yellow, and the green. That's practically half a rainbow right there that I hate. Just because I can't get any of them. Maybe it's for the best that I don't find the 25 microgram one. It didn't seem to be in my bag of history here. It'll just be one more. And who needs that, right? Should we go back to the New York Times article? But Zot, you said you were going to share your tragic medical records. Yes, I did. Get ready. It's pretty heavy. This right here, I should probably bring the camera closer to the light. If you're gonna actually see these. Here we go. Let's deep dive my medical records. So you know I'm not a liar. I'm not a faker. I'm just a victim of circumstance. And it sucks. And I'd highly recommend you just stay home and play video games. Because if you go out into the real world, you're gonna suffer. Your life is gonna go down the drain. And then you're gonna go post videos on our YouTube and share with the Russian populace how much you suffer on a daily basis. And they're gonna start to believe that you live in a sick, sadistic nation that doesn't take care of the suffering, does nothing to alleviate the suffering of the masses. And then you'll say, oh, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to become a celebrity so I can afford another stem cell treatment. I'm really just trying to become a global internet celebrity and try to get like 1 million hits so I can get some ad revenue, you know, because at the rate I'm going, it'll take another decade. If I just stick to America, I gotta expand to other countries. I'm not trying to prove that America is sadistic and only cares about money. I'm from America. I'm a goddamn patriot. I believe in free speech. I believe in, like, the right to bear arms. I even believe in the right to not self-incriminate. Well, why are you telling us all this, JJ? Well, first of all, to save your life. Second of all, to protest. That's another right that I believe in. That's how patriotic I am. I'm a total patriotic American. And if the if the Russian people start to believe that we're a sick, sadistic nation that only cares about money, well, hey, man. I mean, that's not my fault. That's totally not my fault. I'm merely sharing my story. That Survivor song is really catchy. And I particularly relate to it. And I play all the instruments. It's not even a copyright strike. I mean, that drum beat, yeah, you know, wait a minute. No, there is no drum beat in my Survivor. Like, I use it for like half a second during the piano part. Yeah. Oh, and the Bluestones? Yeah, man. I'm basically taking their drum beat and using it, which is not enough to really warrant a copyright strike, because, there's a particular ISRC code that is an algorithm and a waveform, and it doesn't match. It's like a fingerprint. So, but I still regret not playing the drums, because I really relate to that song, too. That song by the Bluestones is basically about not letting anything get in your way. Like, the term rusty usually means that you're out of practice, right? But shaking off the rust, I get the impression that they're referring to, problems, obstacles, hurdles, and hoops. Maybe red tape even. They're basically referring to the problems in front of you as rust. And as you have come back from the fire, if you've gone to hell and back, now that you're back, you have these hurdles that have been placed in front of you, ultimately not only trying to delay you, but just trying to stop you completely. But look, man, you can't let that happen. You just got to shake it off as best you can by any means necessary. Even if it means, like, what? Selling your nation down the river, making it look like a nation of sadists? No, I told you that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to become a celebrity. If America ends up looking like a nation of sadists because I can't get any help whatsoever, that's not my fault and not my intention. But it does kind of look that way. I can't admit that. I'm not blind. I'm kind of a sub-genius. I'm kind of an amateur professional. Trying to become a professional, I suppose. So here, this is the drug test that they did on me against my will. Basically, I was in this accident, and they wanted to make sure that I wasn't the drunk driver. Granted, they didn't know if a drunk driver was involved or not. You see, they can't test the dead. Like, the dead have already evacuated their bowels. They've already evacuated their bladders. That's what happens when you die. You evacuate yourself, and on top of that, you get rigor mortis. So they couldn't test the dead, so therefore they tested me to see what I was on. Apparently, they found albuterol. Hey, that's my asthma medication. Go figure. They probably found ephedrine, too, otherwise known as ephedrine, a precursor to methamphetamine, in a clandestine laboratory type situation, or quite possibly even in a pharmaceutical laboratory type situation. Yeah, did I have ephedrine? It does not appear that I had ephedrine. It says that I had sodium chloride. That's another name for salt water. Because I had an IV. The IV usually has like the sodium and the glucose. The sugar and the salt. Those are two very critical elements that humans depend on. Not just humans, but basically most living things. Most living things depend on the water, the oxygen, the sodium, which is the salt, the GLY, which is the sugar, and even alcohol. Biological beings even rely on alcohol to a certain extent, if you can believe that. Yeah, I mean, it's a very naturally occurring element, the alcohol. It's like more common than caffeine even. Like, it's basically a part of our makeup, if you think about it, the alcohol. But yeah, the sodium and the sugar, just as important. It's kind of like a trinity of like alcohol, sodium, and sugar. Alcohol, salt, and sugar. In a lot of ways, that's what this high school dropout says. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am. Albuterol, salt water, Atrovent. You know what Atrovent is? I don't even know what that is. Hey, I have a nurse's drug reference. Let's find out. This is why I have so many books. It's because sometimes you need to know things. And if you rely on the internet, one of these days, it's going to be illegal to look up at something like a nurse's drug reference because they'll say, you're pirating! You're pirating! You can't have that! And then you'll say, fine, can I check it out? Like in a library capacity? And they'll say, oh no, we eliminated, we burned all the books because we're like Nazis now. We don't allow any room for freedom whatsoever because it's all about money. Oh, wow. How did this happen? People didn't stand up for their rights. They didn't protest. And now you live under fascist rule. Congratulations. Wait, is it really fascism? I thought this was a democracy. Well, yes, it really is fascism, but we call it a tyranny because you used to have democracy, but we took over and we're tyrants. But it just so happens we were raised fascists in our tyrant nation where we learned how to strong arm and use black market underground techniques to overthrow governments coup d'etat style. And yeah, now you pussies live under tyrant rule. The exact thing that our forefathers were hoping to prevent. But you guys are such pushovers. You're such pussies. You don't even own guns. You can't even protect yourselves from the tyrants. You're just fucking pussy wimp, spineless bitches. You slugs. You spineless. JJ Styles, he's a psycho. He's a fucking chemically imbalanced madman with a broken spine, but at least he has one. At least he exercises the fucking rights that he was born with. Like a real spineful human. What is Atrovent? I don't even fucking know. This spineful human. I like that word, spineful. I'm filled with spine. That's true, I am. We got atrovacin, atavacone, atazine, atromid, atropair, atropen, what was it called? Atrovent. Atropisol, Atrovent, page 559. This is a drug that I had in my system at the time, apparently. Whatever the fuck it is, I don't know. Let's find out together. It says here that, where is it? It's supposed to be on this page. Oh, Ipecac syrup. Dude, you ever take Ipecac? You ever seen that Family Guy where they're vomiting in the living room and everybody's like guzzled a bottle of Ipecac? Oh, dude, that is a nasty freaking... like, Stewie grabs Brian's ears, and he's all, like, pulling them back like bicycle bars, and Brian's just all... and, like, Stewie's just like... yeah, that's the Ipecac. Nasty. That Seth MacFarlane is a genius! If I had that man's skills, I'd be a rich person. I could probably get some fentanyl right now in the patch form. Oh well. And maybe it's like right here. You see, this is the problem with books, is they got pages that coincide with the indexes, and sometimes it'll start like right down here, so it'll be on that page, but really all the information's on the next page. Sometimes that happens. That does not seem to be the case here. Was it really 559? Did I read that wrong? Yeah, one of these days they're going to make information illegal. Like right now you have access to it on the internet, but it's going to go away. The fact that the Internet Archive is still in jeopardy, that's what the word jeopardy means. If you've ever seen the game show and you wonder, I wonder what that word means. It means you're in trouble. It means your future is at risk. You are in jeopardy. Yeah, your future is in jeopardy, more specifically. And yeah, man, as long as that place is in jeopardy, information itself is in jeopardy, if you can believe that. I know the signs, all right? I had to fight for net neutrality, which basically doesn't exist anymore. I mean, maybe we have it to a certain extent here in the United States of America, but you can damn well bet that all over planet Earth, there's plenty of places that don't have net neutrality. Are those democracy nations that don't have net neutrality, JJ? Why, whatever do you mean? You know, nations that claim to live under democratic rule? Oh, yes, sure, there probably are. I don't know, though. I don't have the figures in front of me. It would probably be easier to just, like, post a message on the internet, like on a forum, and ask, hey, is there anybody on this forum that comes from a democratic nation that feels that maybe net neutrality is not a thing where you live? Because I'm writing a school paper and I'm curious, or I'm making you don't have to lie. If you are in school, good for you. But like maybe if you want the answer, you could say, I'm writing an independent zine. And as an independent journalist engaged in independent media, I need to know the answer. Do any of these democratic nations not have net neutrality? Because that's a threat to our future. That puts our future in jeopardy. If money is more important than information, if money is more important than freedom, then yeah, the tyrants are going to win. And our future is in jeopardy, by the way. Because if you can't get access to information, how are you ever going to solve your problems? You ever thought about that, people? It's a pretty big fucking deal. I never thought I was going to become an activist because I've tried to stay in the shadows most of my life because I guess I'm basically a coward. If you can believe that, I would say so. I'm a self-described coward because I figure other people had it under control. Braver people than me were out there doing the right thing, maintaining our freedoms and our rights. So therefore, I don't have to put my future in jeopardy. Right? That's the way I lived for about 20 to 25 to 30 years of my life. And I'd say it's cowardly letting other people take the hit. Because I told you guys about the time I was 10 years old in front of the federal building and like watching people get thrown into the backs of cop cars head first, slamming into the passenger doors like kerwham! Probably getting lumps on their heads with their hands and ankles handcuffed, like their hands behind their back, getting thrown in there like a log toss. And I said to myself, as I'm riding around on my Mario skateboard, I says, you're never gonna catch me in the back of one of those cars. I'm never protesting. Never. I will never be an activist. This looks hideous. This looks like a crime against humanity, and they're not gonna commit that crime against me, because I'll be at home instead of protesting. And back then, we didn't have such good internet. You couldn't really protest from home. Hacktivism hadn't even been invented yet when I was 10. You know? 10 years old? Anyways. Let me reread this. God, I'm getting a neck ache. I don't think I can keep this up much longer, guys. I'm just gonna have to, like, give up on my little marathon protest here. Or take another pill, which I wouldn't advise. But then again, if we've been at it for 3 hours, over 3 hours here on the Zot the Avenger Rules and the jjstylesrocks stream, then hey, I guess maybe it is time for another pill. I told you I gotta take them every hour on the hour. It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. I was in a tragic accident. I think you saw the video. We're going to look at the files here. We are looking at the files. I'm trying to find out what this drug is. It would be a lot faster if I just Googled it. I really feel like I should know. Sorry, I'm reading. Give me a second. Oh! It must be this one. The ipratropium. Yeah, ipratropium. Well, JJ, that doesn't sound like atropine. What leads you to believe that? Well, it says down here it helps with bronchospasms. And broncho has to do with asthma. So, your respiratory system. So it probably goes along with the albuterol. It says it inhibits the interaction of acetylcholine at receptor sites on the bronchial smooth muscle, resulting in decreased lowercase c, uppercase GMP, and bronchodilation. It says bronchodilation during bronchospasm in those with COPD. I do not have the COPD. Do not have the symptoms, but I suppose, I mean, I was on tour with my band. Maybe I was running low on asthma medication and had to bum some COPD medication off somebody. I mean, it's hard to remember. It happened 20 years ago. You know, when it comes to medication, you kind of have... Oh my God, I remember. Okay, so here's what happened. We were in Michigan, and I was having, like, really bad asthma. I think I might have been getting sick with bronchitis, something like that. We were in Lansing, Michigan, and the weather was like... I know it was the middle of summer, but I think at nighttime it could get cold, and I think I might have, like, passed out outdoors or what, something like that. And the end result was me getting a really bad, maybe I caught a virus. Maybe that's because I've been known to get a virus and it turns into bronchitis. Okay? But on that particular tour, I did have to go to the emergency room for the afternoon, and I laid down in a bed and I received a breathing treatment, and I basically got back to normal. With the aid of the medication and the treatment at the emergency room, I was able to get my breathing under control. It was either in Illinois or Michigan, somewhere up there. And I just remembered, man, because, like, that happened on a tour, and I'd forgotten that it was on the last one. So that's why I had it in my system. They gave me albuterol and atropine. And when we were in Pueblo, Colorado, the drugs were still in my system. I had not metabolized them yet. Yeah. So you see, these records, they really tell a lot. Granted, I kind of feel like it was a violation of my privacy. You know, because first of all, I wasn't driving. Granted, they needed to conduct an investigation to determine that. They didn't know who was driving yet. And also, you know, the evidence needed to be collected because they already had 2 parties that were deceased and their evidence could not be collected. Because, like, we talked about that already. Let's give them some dignity and not talk about their bodily functions anymore. Yeah, let's forego hurting the deceased's dignity, and let's continue to hurt mine. What do I need dignity for? I'm shameless. What do I need shame for? I am strong. I have nothing to be shameful about. Everything that happens to me is a direct result of the goddamn chemicals and a result of my goddamn injuries. Not my fault. Oh yeah, this is the hospital. Here, let's focus. The hospital that I got taken to in Santa Fe, New Mexico was called Holy Cross. You know, a lot of hospitals tend to be like Catholic or otherwise religious in nature when it comes to the name of the outfit. So this is one of the bills that they sent me because when the accident happened, I had no health insurance because I had just been laid off and I hadn't figured out what to do yet. So this massive bill, this $25,000 bill, ended up getting paid by the insurance that my band leader had taken out on the truck, and basically his family didn't get a dime because I had medical bills to pay and no way to pay them because I'd just been laid off. And the way the insurance policy worked out was that there was no lawsuit to be had. There was no argument to be made. It was designed to go to any victims of the accident that survived and help them to pay their bills. And, you know, I don't even think the family would have gotten any money because that $25,000 wasn't to be paid out unless there was a survivor with a bill that needed to be paid. So that 25 grand that I got, you know, that was paid for by other insurance payers, you know, that wouldn't have even happened if I would have died. The family wouldn't have got it. But still, for whatever reason, I guess probably, you know, just it's natural to be upset when somebody dies. You know, so there were a few family members that were resentful towards me during my recovery, and I do not blame them. I forgive them. I've even hung out with them at the fall ball. I think one of them was the sister. You know, it's all good. You know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your loss. It sucked. It's my loss too. It's my loss because they were close to me as well, and it's my loss because I'm still suffering. Physically, and emotionally, and mentally, and financially, and spiritually. Still suffering 20 years later. This is an unopened piece of mail. This is also from New Mexico. Look at that. It's unopened. You want to open it and see what it is? That's kind of funny. Isn't that funny? I told you guys I don't open my mail, right? That I'm afraid of getting bad news. It looks like that habit started 20 years ago. See, I told you I don't lie to you guys. I try to avoid lying to you guys. Maybe if I don't get my facts straight, it's because I'm confused, not because I'm trying to cover anything up or, like, lie to you. I do get my facts confused sometimes, but it's usually pretty obvious. I usually act confused. Like, well, was there a thing with a thing? And, like, that's when I'm probably getting my... And then if I go, oh, but wait! Then it's like, oh, I remembered. I got my facts straight all of a sudden. You know how that goes. I'm shameless, man. I got nothing to be shameful of. I tried to save their lives. I said, hey guys, let's stay in Pueblo tonight. We got really good fans here. And I'll bet this is enough to make the victims, the surviving family members that were at home, this is what I'm saying is probably enough to make them cry. They probably can't watch this because it's that fucking tragic. After 20 years, to hear me say this shit would probably be too much. So I hope they're not watching. But I have to enlighten you because I am protesting what I'm going through. I'm protesting so hard, I'm bitching to Russia about it on a daily basis, basically. But it's a good thing because it's furthering my career. Someday, the original streamer, the original proto streamer, someday I'm going to be world famous. And I'm going to get to travel the world. And I might even get to play music in these places. So don't cry for me, Argentina. I'm gonna get mine. Don't you fucking worry. If I don't go insane and go postal, and I don't fucking go insane and do something really stupid, like end it all somehow by accident or on purpose or whatever, no, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna sit here and suffer like I always do. Why would anything change after 20 years? I'm just going to continue to whine and bitch and whine and bitch, and people will probably ignore me like they do, and it's okay, because how could you tolerate this? I can't tolerate it. I have to, though, and I'll probably uncover amazing information, and I'll try to share it and nobody will be paying attention because I'm either blocked or canceled, ignored to some extent, because it's just too much to take, too much to deal with. It's like, this guy is overwhelming. I can't take it. He's that's like fucking off the charts crazy, off the charts emotional. He's freaking making me emotional. It's like, yeah, but he just told you guys about a computer security vulnerability that involves thousands of customers. Somebody needs to be paying attention to this guy. He's a genius. Oh, excuse me, a sub-genius. But even a sub-genius is capable of uncovering a computer vulnerability that affects thousands of people. So somebody's got to listen to him. Not everybody, but somebody's got to have some designated babysitter. Somebody to listen to this bullshit, because he might actually say something world-changing. If you can believe that. So this is a letter that says, hey, important. We have not, oh, this is great. This is great. I just love getting letters like this. It makes me feel like this capitalist system of ours really works. Important. We have not received a payment on your account. The totals shown below reflect all payments received to date. Your prompt attention to this matter is appreciated. You owe $466.97, Mr. Styles. You better cough up. What was the date on this? Oh, it was around New Year's. So at least they waited until after Christmas. It would have been rude to get this right before Christmas. But New Year's makes sense because perhaps I made the New Year's resolution. I resolved to get all my bills paid. Yeah, that's a good resolution. I'll get all my debts paid. So that's a perfectly timed letter. Very, very thoughtful. I appreciate that. I'd hate to not pay my bills. That's a very rude and irresponsible thing to do. It's almost as rude and irresponsible as getting addicted to hard illegal drugs that you can't maintain and throw off the balance of nature so real medication takers can't get their shit anymore. It's almost as bad as that, not paying your bills. It's almost that rude. Like, literally, that's what I think of drug addicts. You know, the guys that and gals that and the otherwise that can't control their own addictions. I think it's very rude. I think they need to shape up or ship out. Why don't you go be addicted in a different country? Why don't you try going to Amsterdam? All right? Go over and hang out with the Dutch and be an addict. We don't need you here in America. Go catch a boat. I can't get my prescriptions anymore because you're fucking up the ecosystem. Don't you care about the environment, you fucking drug addicts? Yeah, I'm a drug addict. Yeah, you know what? I'm supposed to be. You'd be a drug addict too if you went through this. They put me in a fucking diaper. You see that? Look. Diaper. Right there. And then they charge me $50 for it. I'm shameless. I got no room for shame in my life. I'm just telling you. I've been to hell and back. Or wait a minute. Am I still in hell? Is this a handbasket? Why am I in this handbasket? What the fuck? I'm still in hell, aren't I? Son of a bitch. How did I get back here? I know I made it back from hell. Why am I back in hell? Did I take that wrong left turn at Albuquerque? Let's see, I was in Taos, New Mexico. Huh. I must have made a wrong turn at Albuquerque. Son of a bitch, I'm back in hell. Go figure. God damn, man. Aren't these fun records? Are we having fun yet? Here on the ZTA Rules and Styles 000 streams? Oh, shit. You see, this is fucked up, man. What is this? I guess I'm getting charged for oxycodone? But it's not highlighted in yellow. So I guess that means they tested me for it, and I wasn't on it, but they had to give me some because they're like, hey, this guy was in a bad accident. He's moaning and groaning and basically completely out of it, but we can tell he's in pain. I mean, look at the lumps on his head. Not to mention that his band is all dead. His band members, he knows they're dead. He asked, as soon as he got in the ambulance, the first thing he asked was, did anybody make it? Did anybody survive? He didn't even care about himself. He just wanted to know if anybody survived. This guy, we got to give him some painkillers. So I didn't ask for them. You know what that means? That means they got me strung out. But I didn't take painkillers after the accident. I went for 5 years without them because I know how bad they are. I grew up watching people's lives get destroyed by them. Hell, man. This is none of your business. So I guess I will leave the person anonymous. All right, out of respect. You can probably guess who I'm talking about. I mean, what are we talking about? But I saw a person overdose one time, and they had stopped breathing, and the only way to get them breathing again was to put them in a bathtub with cold water, no hot water, and then take ice cubes out of the freezer and then stick them down their pants. You know, press the ice cubes against their genitalia to wake them up. Because at that point, it's a neurological response. It's not a conscious. It's not like they won't wake up and breathe because they don't want to. It's not like that. It's not a conscious decision to just stop breathing. It's basically the drugs are too much. And the only way to cause an autonomic nervous system reaction is to take the ice cubes, put them down the pants. See, like, you know, in that movie Pulp Fiction, they use a big fat syringe full of adrenaline, otherwise known as epinephrine, and they stick it into Mr. Wallace's wife's chest, into her heart, directly into Uma Thurman's heart. That's the actress that was playing Mr. Wallace's wife that overdosed on heroin. And yeah, that's really great if you got epinephrine or adrenaline on hand. You know, epinephrine is what they put into an EpiPen. That's like what you keep around if you've got an allergy to peanuts or something like that. And yeah, if you don't have one of those syringes around, yeah, ice cubes are the next best thing. Hopefully it works, because if it doesn't work, you've got a dead body. Needless to say, when they woke up, everybody celebrated, except for me. I was a little too shocked by the whole thing. I was just kind of like, what the fuck? Are you serious? Like, yay, I'm alive! Yay, you're alive! I'm just like, what the fuck? How depraved can you get? Should probably check into rehab, man. You almost died. At any rate. You know, that's just life, though. It could happen to anyone. It's not like they were particularly fucked up. You know, I mean, of course they were fucked up. They stopped breathing. I don't mean fucked up like that. I mean like fucked in the head. You know, it's not like being a drug addict is totally insane. You know, with the opioids, you already understand it's a physical addiction like the tobacco, except it's like the tobacco to the furthest extent of addiction and physical addiction and body cravings and epilepsy. And fucking respiratory failure and the whole 9 yards. The activation of post-traumatic stress at the drop of a hat. Fucking... It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. I probably sound insane. Because I'm telling you, I want to be on fentanyl. It sounds insane until you look at my laundry list of fucking problems, man. oh, what the fuck? It says, hey, Mr. Baker, your account was audited per your request. I wanted to make sure I wasn't getting overcharged. Of course, it was my mother that had to do this because I was in no condition, you know? So, yes, we requested an audit, and this was the audit that... Because otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten a copy of all this stuff. Like, if you pay your bills and you don't request an audit, like an itemized bill, you might not know what you're paying for. These days, with the internet the way it is, you can probably get an itemized list if you click the right button. But in 2003, that was a little more difficult. Yeah, I guess the end result of the audit was that was like a almost $3,000 laundry list of things that they did. And of course, I didn't consent to any of that stuff because I was in no condition to consent to anything. They were basically just trying to save my life, even though I didn't have medical insurance. It's like they're required by law to provide medical care to a person whose life is in danger. Even if they don't have insurance, you're going to get a bill, you know, whether you want one or not. Like, if you can't afford the bill and you shout out loud, just let me die, they can't. They're not going to let you die. They have to try. They're Catholics, for fuck's sake, man. Of course they gotta try. It's in their religion. They don't have a choice. They gotta keep you alive if they can. That's the reason why artificial life support is the kind of thing that you can get at a Catholic hospital. Like, if you're a vegetable, otherwise known as in a coma, if you have experienced brain death, if you are catatonic, if you are a vegetable, you can remain on life support forever if you're at a Catholic hospital. That's a fact. And how do you know you're at a Catholic hospital? I don't know, man. It might have something like saint in the title. That's a good indicator you're at a Catholic hospital. And that they'll put you on the life support until your insurance runs out, I suppose. I'm getting tired of these medical records. You know what? I don't really want to look at the billing records either. How about we go to the police records? How about we look at those? Hey, you guys ever seen McGruff the crime dog? I know that guy. He's okay. It's not that bad. He's kind of nosy. You know what I mean? McGruff the crime dog, he's kind of nosy. He'll ask you about who you're friends with, who your friends are. McGruff wants to know a little more than he needs to, but that's why the fifth, the right to not self-incriminate. If McGruff ever gets too nosy, that's funny because I think he's a bloodhound. You know, and bloodhounds are like the best investigative sniffers of all canines. It's funny. It's ironic. McGruff the crime dog, he's nosy because, like, his breed can smell miles and miles away. They can pick up a trail or, like, a whiff. It's amazing. Like, if you could smell that good, your entire life would be different. You would be so unfamiliar for a human being to smell that good. It's not even, you can't even fathom it, really. I can't. It's amazing. But whatever, man. He's nosy. You don't have to tell him because you got the fifth. The right to not self-incriminate. Whatever, man. You know, if you get in a deadly accident and they got to save your life, they will be doing things to you that you do not consent to. Testing your pee-pee for drugs to make sure you're not a drunk driver, that kind of thing. It might leave you unable to trust afterwards. Even though they're saving your life? Well, yeah, man. It's kind of hard to trust people when they do things without your consent. It's kind of like when you surf the internet and they track you. and then you install ad blocking software to protect your privacy, and the websites that you go to, they say, hey, turn off your ad blocker software, asshole. We're trying to track you. You can't access this website if you got ad blocker software. Why don't you fuck off with the ad blockers, huh? We're trying to make money here. We're trying to violate your privacy. And you're making it really difficult with your stupid VPNs and your stupid ad blocker software. You can't come here. And that's when you got to go to the Internet Archive and use the Wayback Machine to log their web page, and then you after it's logged, then you go and check it on the archive, like kind of like a proxy, because turning off your ad blocker software is like a really bad idea, because these privacy violating, these money worshipping, these tyrannical fascists, they basically want you to give up every right you have. And if you willingly do it, that just makes you complicit in crimes against humanity. Even if you're the human, yeah, if you don't defend yourself, you're basically complicit in crimes against humanity. Human rights. If you don't protect yourself, you can't be ignorant anymore. It's too important. 20 years ago when this fucking accident happened, you know what the attitude was towards encryption? Encrypting your email, encrypting your web pages, financial transactions. You know what the general attitude was amongst the average internet user? I'll tell you, everybody used to say, oh, I've got nothing to hide. They just wanted to be completely transparent like that. Even with their financial, their medical, whatever. Oh, I got nothing to hide. That's what everybody said, because if you didn't say that, it made you look suspicious. And that was the last thing anybody wanted to be, was suspicious. Because everybody was afraid they were going to get surveilled. Yeah, because of the Patriot Act. If you check out the wrong book from the library, you're going to set off red flags, and that's going to get you surveilled, like your phone line tapped. And people were so ignorant back then, they just assumed the worst. That if you so much as used encryption, that would set off red flags, indicating that you're a fucking terrorist. With plots, anti-American plots, that you're in the middle of executing because you're actually the member of a splinter cell. That's the way these dumb assholes thought. And I said, back then, you idiots! If you don't use encryption, you're completely vulnerable to the tyrants! And they didn't listen to me then. And they listen to me now, but they're not listening to me with regards to other things. And it's really frustrating. I'm giving you the best advice because I grew up to be an activist. I didn't know it then, but I was surrounded by leadership in the form of activism leaders. Those are the only people that had TV shows down there. At that studio, I was literally groomed to be an activist. And I didn't even know it. I thought I was groomed to be like a musician or some kind of professional videographer. It turns out I was groomed to be an activist. Go figure. That was the last thing I ever wanted to be. Remember the story about the cop cars and the handcuffs and the head trauma? Well, I've already had a shit ton of head trauma. Like, what are they gonna do? Give me more head trauma? It'll probably shake something loose. I'll probably start remembering things if they give me more head trauma. So fuck it. I was groomed to be an activist. And I can see with my own two eyes the difference between right and wrong. And we've gotten better. At least we use encryption now. But Jesus fucking Christ, you gotta stand up for your rights. No one's gonna do it for you. Right now, I'm standing up for your rights. But I'm a nobody. I'm getting railroaded by the very fucking system that I swore to protect. when I swore that oath as a teenager, I'm getting railroaded by the very fucking system I swore to protect and uphold. So god damn it, if I don't protest right now, I'm basically a walking, talking hypocrite, and one of the biggest ones you'll ever see. So I basically have to do this to look myself in the mirror. Even though the drugs, the medication that I take, that's really private. There's a thing called HIPAA. It's a privacy thing for patients, and it basically states that you don't have to tell anybody anything with regards to your medical records. That it's basically like lawyer-client confidentiality, except it's more like patient-doctor confidentiality. And, you know, for a good 15 years, yeah, I did keep it private. Until they fucking kicked me off the shit and gave me no options. And now I gotta rant at you like some kind of a fucking wingnut. Because there's something wrong and nobody's doing anything. And it's better that I rant to you here, because even though there might be somebody in Vietnam watching my stream, there might be somebody from Canada, maybe France, you know, they're basically the minority. You know, I don't get very high numbers, but I can see my numbers rising over in Russia. And, you know, they're gonna start to say, hey, these Americans are more fucked up than we are. Like, Pussy Riot had it bad, but this musician, he's got it like, he was fucking born. What the fuck did he do wrong? I can't do this anymore, guys. My back hurts. But this police record there, it says things. Alright, take a picture. Read it without me. I gotta go. My back hurts. I gotta go. It's been almost 4 hours. It's been like 3.5 hours here on ZTA Rules and Styles 0001. I won't be back tonight. I gotta rest, man. If I wasn't so angry, I wouldn't have done this much time. So, see you later, alright? Don't give up your rights. Don't be a chump. Fight for them. If you don't know how to fight for your rights, look it up on the Internet Archive. While it still works, while it's still there. I'll see you later.